if you're into metaphysics or astrology or any of that, I'm sure you will love King Simon with the numerology. So reach out to the brother King Simon. And the brother also is bringing in Phil Valentine to Brooklyn, New York. You know, this is the father of this underground metaphysical movement that we're into. And I'm actually going to be interviewing the brother on stage. Yes, I'm going to be interviewing Dr. Phil Valentine on stage on February 26th at St. Francis College. So if you in town, you still ain't checking. Red Pill ain't checking nothing for me, family. He in another world. I'm asking him to check stuff, make sure we on. I don't know what he doing over here. You on keynote, man. But but yeah, Phil Valentine's gonna be in town. Definitely make sure you check out the brother. If you can't, go to the live stream. The information is right there. But moving on. Right, moving on. We got, if you all seen Hidden Colors, we know how good a black documentary could be. Well, there's another documentary coming out, and the name of it is Happy. So Happy's having a film screening panel discussion and networking event Saturday, February 18th. So make sure you'll check that out. All right, gotta have black media out there. That's sold out. Shout out to the brothers also at panafricandesigns.com who chose to advertise with me. You know, image is everything. As we can see how the image of a black family in the White House affected the psyche of our people in terms of being a little bit more proud. One of the most touching pictures I seen when Obama was in the White House is when a little boy, innocent boy, he doesn't know nothing about all this shit we talking about right now. Just a little black boy, he could barely talk, 5 years old. The first thing he asked Obama when his mama told him he was the president is if he could touch his hair. So before we learn about the white man is the devil, or before we learn about how this cop don't like me, or before we learn about why is these motherfuckers profiling me, or why am I being treated this way, or why this or why that, before all of that, you know, we innocent. And it's important that we instill these images before the world instills their images and sells their perceptions. Let's sell our own perceptions to our children. Because all motherfuckers doing every day is selling perceptions. Yo, black women are fucked up. Black men might walk up, nah, black men are fucked up. If you buy into that, that becomes your reality. So buy into, that's the purpose of black business, to buy into a reality that benefits you. When you support somebody else, make sure you're really supporting yourself, because you're uplifting yourself in an energetic perspective. And that leads perfectly until Minister Jew and Ample. They're having a Magic Prosperity weekend going on. And I believe this is in Las Vegas. You can contact them, and they have contact information right here. Make sure you reach out to those type of brothers. You know, I've read something that says the way you talk to your children from the ages 1 to 7 becomes the soundtrack to their life. Powerful. Words are powerful. You know how when niggas be like, all you niggas is doing is talking? Well, you know what? Yeah, talking dictates action. It dictates what happens in your life. Reality. From 1 to 7, all you doing to a baby is talking. They watching that talking, and they're gonna imitate that talking and those actions. So shout out to them. They teach you how to tap into the subconscious mind. And also Minister Jew is call him. He's having a quantum inauguration webinar, and the information is right there. Make sure you reach out to Minister Jew. Moving on, we got, you know, it's all mental. All these advertisements, a lot of these is dealing with the mental plane. So we all got mental issues. Myself, Red Pill, everybody has been through something in their life mentally in which they need help. Lovely.com. The brother Prince Paulie reaches out to me on a consistent basis to advertise, and these people are magnificent when it comes to some of the ancient sciences, such as tarot cards and certain psychic abilities. You know, certain people are sensitive to energies. Let's stop making it sound real spooky. Some of us are more sensitive to energies than others. Some of us see things when other people don't see things. Some of us hear things. Some of us feel things. Some of us taste food more intensely. Some of us feel love before another person feels love. Some of us feels hate before somebody else feels hate. Some of us feels negativity and they be like, I gotta get out of here. Other person be like, where the fuck you going? He be like, yo, I just feel bad. Another person don't understand. Who cares if nobody understands? Be comfortable with being misunderstood. That's the theme of the life. Be comfortable with being misunderstood. Because we all don't feel the same emotions. So make sure your support to brothers and sisters who are sensitive to these energies that are invisible to us and support them. Because it's going to benefit and help your life. So shout out to them. Lovely.com. All of these links will be in the description. And they also have, this is just another, this is the link that they want you to go to if you want to contact them directly. And the last one we're going to show is Professor James Smalls. Yes, ProfessorSmall.com, 914-222-5237. I don't have to say much about this brother. He's a living legend. If you see Hidden Colors, you seen Professor Smalls. You see the contact information. Contact the brother. The brother got information. We all used to go to the library when we were young. You know, the library is virtual now. So make sure you touch this brother on the phone or on the website. Contact him, and the brother will definitely further assist you in your development. All right. And on that note, let's see what we got here. You ready, Red?
Yes, sir.
So Red got an awesome presentation. You know, Red could talk forever, so I'm trying to not make him be over 3 hours. And you know, I said we gotta get out here by 12, man. Red to talk to y'all till 5 in the morning. Red, bro, I got things to do. I got people upstairs, you know, all types of stuff. But yeah, we about to start. You never even checked your phone, man?
No, I did. We good.
Okay, we good. Okay, so we good. Right. All right. So Red said we lit in the chat. We litty. Shout out to. Let me give my shout outs real quick. Shout out to everybody supporting. Everybody in the chat room. You know what? If anybody out there got is into web design, holla at Brother Rich. And you know, people have been hitting me up for years with the web design, but it wasn't time, and I get so many emails a day that I might have lost your email. It's gonna be hard for me to go through certain emails. So the web design is out there. I gotta expand. It's the time to expand my brand. The Red and Blue got this app, y'all. Trust me, we got some things coming for you. Red and Blue got this app that's gonna change the whole conscious woke community, the whole metaphysical. They got this app coming, man. That's gonna change. That's a game changer. So shout out to them, and I will quickly follow their lead in terms of the app community. But yeah, thanks to everybody that's for supporting Brother Rich. We got a lot of things coming. Yeah, a lot of things coming. I'm not gonna give it all away now, but we got a lot of things coming within the next couple of months. You ready to start, Red?
Yeah, let's get it.
Red's ready to start, so we're gonna get into this, family. With no further ado, Red Pill's gonna talk about Fear of a Blackamoor Messiah Part 3. Donald Trump, Hitler 2.0. So let's get it.
That's your subtitle. Peace to the family. Peace to you and yours. This is your brother Red Pill reporting live and direct at the Underground Railroad by way of Know the Ledge. We are here in the building, and I want to say thank you for joining us tonight. For those who are going to hear this show on the download, salute. Thank you for coming through. Disclaimer, we're here for 4 hours. This is the visual presentation that I brought to Norfolk, Virginia this weekend to present to the beautiful family that came out in numbers. All of the family salute in Norfolk, Virginia. Shout out to the brother Mike. Shout out to all of the family who embraced us, showed us love out there. You know what I'm saying? We'll be back at the end of February with our brother Chip, all right, and his brother at an art gallery. We'll give you information about that. We'll be in Miami February 11th at the African Cultural Arts Center doing the Facts Initiative, and we'll also be in Atlanta the 26th doing me and Mama Pill are doing an event for children. They booked us to come and do an event, and I will be in Long Island. We'll be in a part of Kings County. If people don't know, Kings County is Brooklyn, Queens, and Long Island. Do you know that? Yeah. No, it's when everything was joined, it was called Kings County. When this was the Empire, you know what I'm saying? When it was the Empire State, and it's actually those bodies. That's why all of those MCs that come from those different boroughs, yeah, from Rakim all the way down to Jay. But we'll be in Long Island with our brothers Key of Life. Shout out to Knowledge of God. That's on the 23rd, on a Thursday. We're gonna be there doing another installment of the Fear of a BLACKAMOOR Messiah. Now, I wasn't able to do this lecture in its totality. This lecture is an organic lecture. This lecture is actually a collection. It's a body of work. The part 1 and part 2 are certified classics. I only say that because when you go and listen to them, one was done in October, and if I gave it right now, it would talk about everything that's taking place this moment. All right. The other one was done in November, and it also prepared you for where you're at today. And those are bodies of work. Those are prophetic bodies of work. So tonight is going to be no different. I have a plethora of information. If you don't hear a certain topic being touched on, you have to allow the full presentation to present itself. All right. You know, this is a journalistic collection of information in news and narratives and observations that have been in research that has been made available to me by way of, research, by way of digging in and tapping in. So without any further ado, let's get right into it. All right. Let me just, as I warm up, I'm going to do what Baba Phil Valentine used to do in his lectures, and that's read from his notepad, but I'm gonna read from my phone. Then we'll get right into the visual presentation. All right, let's go. Started out by saying, this is our how we'll open up. Whatever you put attention to, you empower. Consciousness, quantum physics, the real wealth is self, then health, then knowledge. Coin, tell, pro. Coin, as in gold coins, silver coins, dollars, bitcoins, currency. Tell, telephone, cellular phones, smartphones. Pro, GoPro, Canon, spy drone, surveillance. 2.0. So COINTELPRO 2.0 consists not only of the COINTELPRO 1.0, but also of these components. These are notes that I took from a lecture that Phil Valentine did prior to the election on Brother Rich's channel. I forgot the name of it, but it was very deep. These are some notes that I took down. And pardon me if they're scatterbrained, but you'll understand it. Matter follows mind. The war is on your mind. The smarter the public gets, the more informed the public gets, the more brutal and tyrannical the government becomes. Necessary to keep the populace in idiocracy, henceforth the rise of Trump. The ignorant trumps the intellectual, mandate the citizenry implode upon themselves. Race war. 200 to 300 to 1,000 executive orders Obama signed off. Complete removal of privacy, rights, all of our civil disobedience, conflict, America burning, the zoo is waking up, Caesar, Planet of the Apes, the captors are testing the boundaries or limits of the cage, prison, Harambe. Evil feeds on the energy. Evil needs a reason to exist. Psycho-spiritual mean, debasing the righteous. Mentally, emotionally manipulated war for the hearts and the minds. Probate court. Black bodies worth more dead than in jail. White man bond $1 million. Black man bond 3/5. Each person is a corporation assigned a dollar value. Exemption account. As a debtor, you're worth more dead than alive. Convert your bond in probate court. European earning value versus bond value is much higher than black/colored/Negro/African American History Month. Once you get into self, the devil will do anything in his power to gain attention. The Godhead is within, not without. They keep you searching outside of self. These are the words of my master teacher, Dr. Phil Valentine, who will be in Brooklyn, who I will be opening up for doing Prince in another song. And we have the world premiere the video tonight. There is a war on drugs, yet the major labels sign multi-million-dollar deals with artists who are brand ambassadors for the drug culture, purveyors of all things contraband, influencers and trendsetters. The majority owned and controlled Jewish music industry became the financiers and loan officers to yet a new form of slavery. 13th Amendment. Debtor slaves for mass consumerism, spiritual slavery, mental slavery, substance dependency, substance abuse, emotional abuse, trauma, suffrage, poverty, destitution, and irresponsible sexual deviancy. Those are my words. These are the talking points from the first two BLACKAMOOR Messiahs that I'm encouraging the family to go back on YouTube and go and watch. You could research. You could go right on YouTube and punch in Fear of a BLACKAMOOR Messiah 1 and Fear of a BLACKAMOOR Messiah 2. I made sure that they're on the websites, on the YouTube for the family to see, so you don't have to purchase it as the only way to get information. No, if you want to put some money up, if you want to add on, if you want to send a tip, I'm cool with that. As a matter of fact, we put together a campaign because we want to create a documentary. This needs to be more than just a lecture series. This needs to be in theaters. So these are the talking points, some of them from part 1. We talked about Christopher Columbus. Who is Christopher Cologne? Who is a modern, he's worse than who you know as Hitler, okay, when compared to what it is that he did. And he's very, 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 very prominent in what's taking place at the moment, all right, as you see the Crusades beginning to unravel. We talked about the Roman Catholic Church, the rise of the Roman Catholic Church. We talked about the popes, the Crusades, the Inquisition, the Reconquista. We told you about the tools of torture, the torture methods, and now they have proven as torture. Capitulation of the Moors and the Jews, and now they won't allow the Jews into, they won't allow the Moors, aka the Muslims, into the borders of America. And that's called the capitulation of the Jews and the Moors. It happened already. We talked about the mass conversions of the Jews and the Muslims. So if they have a Muslim ban and they're telling you can't come into the land of the Americas where you're on the run, you're a refugee, meaning that you have people that want to kill you, that are on your back. You're running from the ops. And they're telling you you can't come into America unless you convert because there's a Muslim ban. That's how you get to people to say, well, God damn it, I'm a Hindu or I'm a Christian. Okay, that's how it works. We talked about the mass conversions of the Jews and the Muslims and the Muslims, the papal bulls and the decrees, the New World / Old World, how 1492 created what is known as the New World. And then right after that, Assassin's Creed comes out and they open up at the battle that split two worlds, the battle at Al-Andalus when they were fighting the Moors, the last battle with King Ferdinand, Queen Isabella, the crusade, the ones that Bannon and them pray to, the ones that Trump prays to. Okay, these are their saints. Queen Isabella, King Ferdinand, at that battle when they defeated the Moors, that's what created what you know as the New World, because he set sail to conquer in the name of the crown and to conquer in the name of the church. He was an explorer, meaning that he was just going forth to bring back information, to bring forth the armies, and to bring forth the crusaders or the conquistadors or the alt-right or the neo-Nazi third party, third rank, you know, what you give it, whatever name, you know what I'm talking about though. Yo, your man's in them. That's what I'm talking about. Occidental and Orientalism. We talked about occultism, metaphysics, and sorcery, how they were in possession of arcane knowledge due to the fact that these people were crusaders, meaning that they were invaders, meaning that they were, you know, they were like kicking in, you know, they were home invaders. They were taking that work, you know, they were taking the information, and knowledge is power. So people put power into the wrong things. People have put power into tangible items and stuff like that, cocaine birds, or, you know, fried chicken wing, whatever, not knowing that real power is in this information. Real power is in real power. All right. So let's get back to what we were talking about. And this is only part one right here that we're going through that we covered. We covered Moorish dynasties, Almoravid, Almohad, the West African in the north. Every single country that is on the banning list are all Moorish countries if you do your studying of Moorish history. Tunisia, Libya, you know what I'm saying? The Sudan, I mean, come on, Somalia, all of these. White slavery, they can't get over that. They're going hard because of white slavery. That's their they have post-traumatic slave disorders as well, and that's why they're like, yo, we're not letting them in. They're like, yo, no Muslims could come in the borders. No they really don't fall for the okie doke. So coincidentally, amongst all of the Muslim countries in the world, you pick the ones that show up in this first lecture. We talked about the Corsairs, the Turks, the privateers, and the pirates, the renegados, the Mamelukes, and the Ottomans. Part 2, we gave you the definitions of psyops, blackamoor, the 20 million man march or else. We talked about the Trayvon factor. We talked about the Zimmerman acquittal and his 6 post arrests, and the standard, that's the case to set the grounds for what is known as stand your ground law, that they're taking. People are utilizing that law, not just civilians, but also police. And this was the catalyst. This case was the catalyst that set off the conflict that we find ourselves in. In Dylan Roof's manifesto, he specifically said it was this case that convinced him that the quote unquote, what you see taking place right now, I don't even know what the name of it is, but he said that's the case to show them that it was time to move forward with their campaigns. And it was like, guess what? They saw that there was a weakness in what they saw as their op. They saw a weakness in them because of that case right there. It's called the Trayvon factor. You could Google that. We talked about the Ferguson riots and the fact that the Ferguson riots, based off what Darren Seals talked about, was
Everybody saying you in the same slide for like 30 minutes, bro.
It was an op, okay, and it set out. All right, I'm coming. It set up Black Lives Matter and some other things, okay. All right, so we're gonna go through. Let's get right to part 3, because I could be on this part right here. I'm gonna get into these slides. All right, let's go right to it. Fear of a Blackamoor Messiah. All right. These are some of the brands. Get familiar with the brands family. Like Brother Rich said, The apps are coming, so when the apps come, you will be able to see everything that we have available. Know the Ledge Radio, Kings County Clothing, Ocean 14, Soul Gold, Law 44, the radio show. You could Google it, Know the Ledge Radio, KTL Empowerment. Look out for that YouTube channel. All right. This is the handle, L Filthmore. Find me on Facebook, find me on the gram, find me on the Snap. All right. There goes the part 2, the Baltimore lecture. That's on the website, fearofablackmoormessiah.com. We have both of the titles up there. There they go right there. Go to the website if you want to get these titles, fearofablackmoormessiah.com. Check these out. All right. The internet killed the television. All right. We are in the age is what is known as a disruptor age. This is a disruptor age. This age signifies an age where you see a changing of the guard. A changing of the guard on multiple levels due to multiple factors. One of the most evident factors that we find ourselves in these days and times is technology. And technology has become what is known as a disruptor. Case in point, what is known as the email is known in technological terms as one of the first disruptors, because what email did is email disrupted the postal service. Email disrupted the ways in which mail was delivered. All right. What is known as Google, the algorithm of the Google search, is a disruptor because it disrupted the search, the way the searches were done forever. It disrupted the yellow pages. It disrupted people utilizing books in order to search for things by going to the library, the paper age, and ushered in what is known as the digital age as a disruptor. The internet as a whole killed the television. So we're in this age where the power of broadcasting is in your hands, as we're doing tonight by broadcasting the same way that you broadcast CNN, the same way that you broadcast Fox, the same way that you broadcast any forms of media. We have the ability to broadcast it live and direct. So we're showing you that there's a power at play right now that we all have in our hands. YouTube is now bigger than TV amongst advertisers' target audience. All right. I'm happy to announce that on mobile alone, YouTube now reaches more 18 to 49-year-olds than any network, broadcast or cable. In fact, we reach more 18 to 49-year-olds during prime time than the top 10 TV shows combined. So you talk about Empire, we talk about all of these other shows, and we complain about what they're doing, and I understand that. You know what I'm saying? Those are programs with the means to program you and yours and people who are unsuspecting to the subtleties, to the subliminals, and even the blatant messages that they're giving our people. But we're letting you know that the power to counter that, or the power to tap into something greater than that, exists in the form of what we have right in front of us. Not later on, not we could do this, yes we can. No, we're utilizing this platform. We've been doing this for a decade long, utilizing this one platform to create the evolution in the form of a digital, that the evolution will be digitized. Okay, the evolution will be digitized. All right. World Star. We talked about World Star in a video with Brother Rich when we give the RIP to the Brother Q. All right. And we explain that the reach that World Star has around the globe is something that we have to understand, just in case the family was not aware. On the global, Alexa is a website that counts it. It gives you the analytics of traffic around the world. So on Alexa, World Star comes up as 1,209 when it comes to websites around the world, meaning that it is a behemoth. Okay, so when it comes to reaching living rooms and bedrooms and phones and people who are paying attention around the world, 1,000. Remember how many people are in the world?
A lot.
So with a lot of people in the world, this is the 1,209 top website.
That's in the top 1%, right?
So let's do what ifs right now. What if that website was showing a balance of I'm not even going extreme with it. I'm just like, what if it had a balance?
Just a balance.
Just a balance.
Twerking here, red pill over there, Bob, you know what I'm saying? Different
Contra Queen.
Yeah.
You know, she's
fight
doing
videos over there.
You know, some Chef Aki cooking class
cooking
over
classes.
there. You know what I'm saying? We get Mama Pill in the garden. You know, and are we asking for too much? Because we do want to be represented around the world in all of our capacities, right?
Right.
We're not elitists as knuckle draggers. Are knuckle draggers elitists? Are they like, yo, we don't want the hoteps around us? We don't want to have people who are tree huggins on our page? So, look at the demographics of the people who are visiting World Star Hip Hop. Above the ranks of average, we find females visiting World Star Hip Hop. And also we find males, but significantly more, for some reason, it's the women, not the sisters, but the women around the world are definitely tuning in to the content. Wow, that's available on World Star Hip Hop. Whoa, are we gonna do a party for that? Should we celebrate? Mama, did we make it? Or are we we need to really consider the fact that, wait a minute, we need to talk about this. Look at the education. Some college, a lot of no college, a little bit of college, a little bit of graduate school. But for some reason in school, everybody's watching World Star.
So what is it about?
I know that when I was in school, I had a class clown.
Right.
That nigga got me through the day.
Got mad attention. Everybody paid attention to the class clown. Right.
You feel me? And we also used to have girly books.
Yeah.
I'm telling on myself. But yeah, that's what we did. But imagine when you have a smartphone now. You don't even need a smartphone. I heard you got Obama phones that could go to World Star.
Wow.
Yeah. So niggas got tablets and all kind of stuff. Just depending on what era of Apple, you know, they worship.
Word.
So they're watching World Star all day in school while they're supposed to be learning. And going back to, wow, what if this was, you know, a what if world? What if we lived in an alt universe where there was some information on there?
Mm.
Because we know the impact of information on Forbes DVD. We know the impact of information to the smack audience. We know the impact of the information when it went on Vlad. We know the impact of the information on all of the platforms on YouTube, which have put out about 100. Those numbers that I was just showing you, about more people are watching YouTube than TV.
Right.
Black consciousness, Moorish consciousness, metaphysical, occult, underworld, underground, whatever you call it. You know what I'm talking about. Messianic forces are being heard and seen by more people that are watching TV. And that's a fact. So, United States, there's a large contingency of people in the United States, China, Canada, United Kingdoms. All right. This is our option as a family, as a responsible, conscious family that I will put forth right now. I can't say too much because we're on open networks, but I would say this. There's a lot of hacking going on around the world. We're living in this age of hacking, okay? Usually they say that it's coming from the Russians. If you're on the dark web or the deep web, you're familiar with the fact that there's all kind of people that are capable of doing things. We need servers clean these days because this stuff that's going around the world is coming off of World Star that the young man Q was a proprietor of. He's no longer with us, and it's not even in his hands anymore. So he's gone and the Death Star's still here. Okay? He's gone and the Death Star's still here. The shit that's on World Star, I'm willing to sacrifice. Because when you put it on the scales is going to tip over. No disrespect to anybody who who's swimming in that ratchet pool. I get in, I get my feet wet, I backstroke through ratchetness every now and then, but god damn it, those servers should be hacked. They need to be cleaned up. Something needs to be cleaned up on that page, because it only got worse in terms of devolution. How far niggas is going. Soon it's gonna be mixed with pornography. It's already pornography, but on the front page in a minute. And babies are watching that. People around the world are watching that, right? Here, Germany, the UK, China. Oh, they all in China. Okay. And people may be like, damn, why you hating? They like the culture. I'm like, that's what's up. You know what I'm saying? I respect the culture. You know, I get it. But you can't just show them the deaf culture, though. We need balance. Princeton study observes group consciousness has physical effects on world during large-scale events. Pay attention to what you pay attention to. That's what I just opened up with. Meaning that this lecture tonight is not trying to induce any kind of fear. This lecture is field reporting. I took 2.5 months. I wasn't even I wasn't even coming out the house. Donald Trump got me busy, B. I don't know about y'all, but this thing right here, this has gotten me busy. This has kept me very busy. So there's a lot of information, but I'm giving you awareness. As the definition of consciousness is an awareness. So I want you to be aware of things, because a lot of things are beginning to happen. I get people that email me and run into me in the streets, and they thank me for part 1 and 2, because they like, Red, you prepared us. Everything that you, so when it comes, we're laughing rather than crying. Some niggas crying.
Proactive, not reactive.
Proactive, not reactive. 2 different worlds. You got to remember, we are not the same. We live in 2 different worlds. Proactives and reactives. You're going to get, it's a whole nother bag. For the first time in scientific history, researchers have discovered that group consciousness, i.e. collective consciousness, elicits physical changes in the physical world around us. Researchers made the discovery in a groundbreaking study from Princeton University's Pear Laboratory. They said the power of thought is not just ideological, it manifests physically. Cohesion between individuals ramps up this power, writes one of the study's author. So we find ourselves live streaming right now. There's hundreds of people here. We're saying that the power that we're looking for, that we feel that is escaping us, that we're trying to buy tickets in March to go and get. I'm like, this power is here in the now. You are the power. It's in you.
But hold up, that right there, Princeton confirms what we've been saying about these rituals where they advertise the killing of Trayvon Martin.
Yes.
And it instills fear. That group consciousness creates such a fear paradigm, a continuous fear paradigm within black people. So that's what you have to do. If you're the devil, and God and a person that looks like God, i.e. Barack Obama, just became president for whatever reason,
yes,
you have to continue to instill fear in them people. So therefore, according to Princeton studies, they need group consciousness, yes, to see a nigga getting shot 10 times. Facts. They need group consciousness to see a nigga getting stabbed, or Castrillo, a nigga getting shot on Facebook Live and his woman is screaming. Facts. Or a woman with her baby and she getting shot and her baby getting grazed. They need that group consciousness for what? For physical effects on the world during large scale effects. Come on, man.
So you waking up to videos going viral. Who made it viral? You just saw Facebook told you they do fake news. So if they could do fake news, nigga, they do fake views. Okay? It ain't views from the 6. It's fake views. So you're waking up, Facebook is giving you, it's trending. Oh, Castillo's killing went viral. You like, oh shit, I gotta watch that. You don't know if it was viral. And then it gets spread everywhere. And now they cooking. Why you gotta see every time he signs an executive order? It's a fucking breaking news. Obama signed 500 to 1,000 executive orders like I just read to you. Did y'all get breaking news when he did that? Were they making a panic when he was doing that? Huh? All of these things. But what I'm saying is the flip to that is we coming together on these live streams. Power. Power. Don't Mess, don't spend your power, meaning don't waste your power. Like spill your seed, don't waste it. Don't shoot your motherfucking load. If you come together and you're in these chat rooms, you're on these lines, know that you are amongst concentrated power. If you watch a video and it's 30,000, 100,000 with 5 dislikes, know that there's power in that. Tap in. You don't have to actually be there live. It's still, they're saying, yo, look. In field applications, the research shows that in situations which produce a coherent group consciousness, the data may depart from expectation even without specific intentions. The GCP EGG project's measures are a direct extension of the laboratory and field applications of the REG technologies. Okay, the best way to describe the anomalous effects we see in the data is a correlation that comes to exist between the devices spread around the world just during major events, defined in terms of the widespread attention and emotion they produce. The departures from expectation when human consciousness is powerfully engaged. The devices are designed to be independent and they are separated by hundreds of thousands of kilometers, and yet we see the correlations. This is anomalous and is linked with consciousness. The implication is that we are not isolated from each other as it seems to be the case, but linked in a subtle unconsciousness and inaccessible way. Learning more about that and tapping into the potential of our interconnection is the next phase of human development. We are at the beginning and ready to move forward. Come on. Okay? So if you're watching fuckboy videos and tapping into stupid shit, well, guess what? And if you're tapping into some power, and if you're tapping into some streams of consciousness that are going to give you that energy and that life, and if you're coming together and you're becoming members and you're coming on these channels, yo, it's power in that. So either you're gonna cook or you're gonna get cooked. It's either way. It's been said that our lives are largely the result of subconscious programming. Biologist Bruce Lipton has said that your life is basically a printout of your subconscious programming. And most of the programming was not a deliberate choice, but just passed on to us by default.
Indeed.
Questioning the validity of the programming is the first step in unplugging. Red pill. And it's the red pill. The funny thing is, even nonconformity is a form of social programming. As I said before, the ultimate paradox of nonconformity is how many people have started conforming to its ideals. Blue pill's box theory. You in a nonconformity box. So to be a nonconformist, you can't get a shape up. That's just off the table.
You can't bathe and shit.
Bathing is out of the question.
Because you're wasting precious water.
The water is actually being wasted. Good brother. The truth lies under layers and layers of social programming and beliefs. Get past enough layers and what you'll find is that there's absolutely nothing there. A tabula rasa. Okay? Are you willing to see how far the rabbit holes goes? Rhythm of breathing affects memory and fear. Uh-oh. Before we get into that, let's just touch on this. I'll briefly touch on each groups of slides so I'm not just running through everything. Yeah. We have to be responsible, family, for programming our subconsciousness. I'm not going to spend my time trying to tell you who the hell, how they're, you know what I mean? You know how they programming your subconsciousness.
It's for, you know what's fucked up, pardon the language, family, is that the #1 programmers of our subconscious is our parents. Yes. And more than likely, they're passing down the fear that was passed down to them. Yes, so we almost come into this world handicapped. We come into this world with some shit that we ain't even, like, we probably won't even want right now. But it was just downloaded into us.
System.
Yeah, it's our operating.
It's your duty to upgrade. Man. Windows 8, don't complain, it just go to 10. Like, you just got to upgrade.
But it doesn't have conscious interference like we do. It just does what it does because those are the rules of the game. Well, that's why birds always fly in line. Humans, we got that free will. We could go in line or we could go the other way. So we the only species fucking up in the way we are because the animals do what they're supposed to do.
But they are following what is known as universal law. The thing that they gave humans was the ability to choose.
Choice.
That's the
choice.
only difference.
Choice, right.
They're
Choice.
just following
Choice, yeah.
the universal law. They're following the laws that are laid out.
Right.
You know what I mean? Rhythm of breathing affects memory and fear, all right? Understand. You cannot say that I cannot breathe. That makes no sense. Northwestern medicine scientists have discovered for the first time that the rhythm of breathing creates electrical activity in the human brain that enhances emotional judgments and memory recall. These effects on behavior depend critically on whether you inhale or exhale and whether you breathe through the nose or mouth. In the study, individuals were able to identify a fearful face more quickly if they encountered the face when breathing and compared to breathing out. Individuals were more likely to remember an object if they encountered it on an inhaled breath than an exhaled one. The effect disappeared if breathing was through the mouth. Everything that I'm reading tonight, family, before I even continue, is dealing with striving, surviving, and moving forward for 2020. So when I'm talking about breathing, there may be some times that you may have to find yourself in a position where you need to remember how to breathe. There may be some times where you need to sit down and breathe before you make a decision in life. A lot of things that are taking place right now are making people breathe uneasy. You can just see it in them.
You know how you hear the solution niggas come on the internet? What's the solution? What's the solution? What's the solution?
We're here for 4 hours.
Breathing is one of the solutions.
Yeah.
Learning how to breathe correctly.
While you listen to this information, breathe.
And I know for some people it's boring. Oh, breathing. I need something more exciting. He's teaching me how to breathe.
Yeah.
Breathing is very, 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 very important, bro. Like for your overall health, for your well-being, for just to get information. Like when you breathe from the not from your chest, but from your what's the area? The diaphragm,
solar plexus.
the solar plex.
Mm-hmm. Your diaphragm.
Like, come on, bro. Like you feel totally rejuvenated, man. So breathing is very, very important for those who think learning how to breathe is boring. Shout out to Arlene Bay.
Indeed. Minister Drew said, when we consciously learn how to soothe and master these structures, the demons, the enemy, both inwardly and externally, won't be able to defeat the breath, the spirit, the memories, the hippocampus, the fear, the limbic brain. Okay? What's that word? Amygdala. The amygdala is strongly linked to emotional processing, in particular fear-related emotions. So scientists asked about 60 subjects to make rapid decisions on emotional expressions in the lab environment while recording their breathing. Presented with pictures of faces showing expressions of either fear or surprise, the subjects had to indicate as quickly as they could which emotion each face was expressing. When the faces were encountered with inhalation, subjects recognized them as fearful more quickly than when faces were encountered during exhalation. This was not true of faces expressing surprise. These effects diminished when subjects performed the same task while breathing through their mouths. Thus, the effects was specific to fearful stimuli during nasal breathing only. All right. So they have brain science, an accurate brain science that they formed to identify potential criminals while they're still toddlers. Okay, so scientists are able to use brain tests on 3-year-olds to determine which children are more likely to grow up to become criminals. It sounds like Minority Report come to life, an uncomfortable idea presenting a myriad of ethical concerns, but through unnerving, the research is nuanced and could potentially be put to good use. In a study published by Nature Human Behavior, it was led by neuroscientists at Duke University, showed that those with the lowest 20% brain health results age 3 went on to commit more than 80% of crimes as adults. The research used data from a New Zealand longitude study of more than 1,000 people from birth in the early 1970s until they reached 38 years old. This distribution of the 20% of a population accounting for 80% of an effect is strong but not unusual. In fact, it follows the Pareto principle, the author writes in their papers. In Pareto's day, the problem definition was that 20% of families own 80% of land in Italy. The so-called Pareto principle is alive and useful today. For example, in software engineering, 20% of the code is said to contain 80% of the errors. And that whole 20 to 80 ratio is used in many, many different things. Let's talk about music real quickly. How electronic music tricks us into liking songs. When I first heard the Chainsmokers Closer, I was at a bar with my friends looking to keep the buzz going. The keyboard's repetitive riff coupled with Halsey's powerful vocals hooked me right away. Before I knew it, I was dancing along with everyone else, spilling drinks on each other, la la la. Like, you know, when these songs come on, you may be in the club just trying to be on chill mode, you know what I'm saying? You might be meditating in the club, but then, you know, you find yourself backing that ass up when Juvenile comes on. All right. Our brains release endorphins and dopamine when we hear familiar songs. Once we fall in love with a beat, we seek it out again and again. It's for exactly this reason that many use music to relieve stress. There is a level of comfort in listening to music with familiar structural elements and instrumentation. Electronic music festivals get a bad rap. They conjure images of youth culture, glow sticks, and drug trips. And say what you will, but it's a subculture united by the psychology of the human experience of finding comfort in music. When we can predict a song's patterns, it doesn't matter if we know the words or not, because we know when the bass is going to drop and when to throw our hands in the air. Think Justin Bieber's Where Are You Now or Mo's Lean On. Their repeating formulas build up and release a gratifying rush. That's that turn up. You don't care about the mumble rap. You know when the beat finna drop. You cool with the ad-libs and you waiting for the hook. You don't care what they're saying. It's like when you go on Instagram and they show you those jumbled letter paragraphs. You could read right through it with your brain. You don't need to know the whole, you know, as long as it's lined up the right way. Jenny Rook, music therapist at Institute for Therapy Through the Arts, say people look for the predictability in songs. If music is repetitive, it is easier to find the patterns. Familiar is more fun. We like when we have a sense of mastery over learning something new. We feel accomplished. But electronic artists aren't the first musicians to capitalize on repetition. Brilliant classical composers like Mozart and Beethoven wrote songs with basic chords and layered them with tempo changes. Philip Glass builds his film scores on drum beat patterns and harmonic cycles. Glass's work influenced ambient genius Brian Eno, who's worked with artists like David Bowie and the Talking Heads to create theatrical soundscapes with chord cycles and arpeggios. And Eno's techniques has also influenced artists like James Blake and Jamie X, who fuse electronica, hip hop, and trap to create haunting, futuristic repetitions. Okay? When music becomes non-music. In recent years, the content of mainstream popular music appears to have undergone some rather drastic changes, and the inclusion of pro-social values featured in songs seems to be gradually on the decline. In other words, the monotonous drivel spewed forth by pop culture of today's society as a substitute for music can only be described as an ever-going cesspit of obscenities, profanities, and the indication of outright moral decay. A prime example of this is Miley Cyrus, because the people are so damn hypocritical. Y'all be like, oh my goodness, Donald Trump is such an evil man and he grabs women by the box. But the minute you turn the radio on, they're like, grab her by the box, and you and your 2-year-old are turning up together. It doesn't make sense. You know what I'm saying? The whole goddamn 20 songs that they repetitively play, the electric music that they repetitively play to put spells on you. We're going, just walk with me, family. We're just walking through this. The repetitive song, the loop of that repetitive spell is basically telling you to deface us, degrade yourself. You, because you are in the way of you. Ain't nobody in your way. We're in our own way. It starts with us. So they're tapping into your lower self and telling you to stay grounded, stay in your root, stay in your lower self, stay dumbed down. Miley Cyrus, when she came back on the scene as a thought, do you know what that did to the little children who grew up watching her? And nobody had anything to say about her. But if she had a fucking tan, meaning that if she was melanated, they would have probably crucified her, because they would have been like, how dare you come back like this when our children were watching you on Disney? Like, you don't have no consideration, because children are impressionable and they follow the lead. They follow the Pied Piper. Miley is a reprobate daughter of the famous American country singer Billy Ray Cyrus, himself something of a social Neanderthal. Her career as an actress and musician began to flourish when, at the age of 13, she gained the lead role in Disney's Hannah Montana, a popular television show with a target audience of children aged 6 to 14. And identity formation is one of the main developmental challenges faced in childhood and adolescence. This is the effect that it has on a young mind. Identity formation is one of the main developmental challenges faced in childhood and adolescence. The goal is to establish a clear sense of self by discovering one's own interests, desires, needs, likes, dislikes, and abilities to respect, to love, interpersonal relationships, and beliefs about both the self and the external environment. In relation to love, this also includes the development of sexuality and the development of gender role identity, which is essentially learning about one's role as a male or female in a given society culture. In the opinion of psychologist Jeff Arnett, music and music videos can play an important part in both love-related aspects of identity formation. Research supporting this notion has shown that the attitudes and beliefs of adolescents were affected by exposure to music that portrayed stereotyped gender roles. Another study also found that those who were exposed to such music were more likely to accept adversarial relationships and interpersonal violence in their own lives. It was theorized by the investigators that media portrays transiently alter the way in which subsequent human interactions are viewed and interpreted. I'm going to repeat that. Media portrayals transiently alter the way in which subsequent human interactions are viewed and interpreted. You begin to think that that's the norm. You begin to think that everything that you see is the norm, that it's okay, that why not? I need to try these things. In addition to the alteration of adolescents' attitudes and beliefs about their environment and others around them, exposure to certain types of music appears to also alter attitudes and beliefs regarding the self. The most important thing in this whole conversation tonight, family, is the self. That's the only thing that matters. It doesn't matter about anything but the self. If none of this information can help self, then it's no good to you. You don't need it. Research has shown that just 10 minutes of exposure to music videos that feature idolized models with the desired physique cause a drastic increase in females participants' level of bodily dysfunction. At integral stages of development, as children grow and mature in this world, particularly in Western society, unattainable socio-cultural ideals promulgated by the mainstream media are thrust upon the impressionable minds and aim to surround the child from as early on as possible. This promoted imagery may consist of the perfect body, the perfect face, or any other combination of physical traits that are deemed to be desirable by the mainstream media monster. Excessive sexual behavior and self-objectification objectification are also promoted as being a means of gaining acceptance, popularity, and success. Children soon learn to imitate behavior that they perceived as being socially beneficial, which in case is generally vanity, self-love, and self-objectification. The sad truth is that modern society is so deeply infested with this stream of filth that people now openly worship the false and the hollow. Many people in Western societies and around the world now idolize a variety of pathologically narcissistic characters and seek to become like them. This is seen as normal, aka normalization. This is just a build-up to where we're going. To top it all off, there is also evidence to suggest that the underlying beliefs and attitudes that have been adopted by children through the exposure to this type of popular music, also appears to manifest in children's behavior. A poll conducted by NetMums, which surveyed 1,500 plus parents, showed that 81.7% of parents claimed that their child had repeated or sung sexual lyrics without realizing the meaning. In addition, 33.4% stated that their child had imitated sexually provocative dance moves performed by pop music stars. Like twerking, popping that kitty, like pole dancing and other things. But hang on, I hear you say, these children are completely unaware of what they're imitating, and it's not as if they are acting out these behaviors in real life. So what's the problem? Well, it turns out that some children actually are acting out these behaviors. One study showed that children between the age of 14 and 15 who were exposed to music featuring sexually degrading lyrics were more than twice as likely to have already had sexual intercourse than those who went unexposed. Is this merely a coincidence? The destruction of society's moral compass and the sexualization of children. It turns out that the pop culture music industry is one of the most successful vehicles for the spread of this kind of, evil. The young mind, having not yet established a strong sense of self, is highly susceptible to this form of manipulation and can be quickly drawn into the dynamic at a very young age. These appearance-based values and unrealistic expectations of oneself then may lead on to an overactive negative introject, a distorted self-image, and a rather twisted view of the external world and others in it. The state of being thwarts any real possibility of truly connecting with other human beings and forming lasting emotional bonds. Any relationship that is established on appearance-based values is doomed to fail. Just as the human being who has adopted these customs is forever doomed to be unhappy and filled with insatiable hunger for anything that fills the empty void inside. This is what the children of today's world are faced with. This is their inheritance. Vulnerable children are becoming increasingly sexualized and developing a false adulthood before their time. They are being manipulated to embark on a journey of sexual discovery when they are not yet mature enough to understand the implications. A distorted image of sexual relationship is also planted within a child's mind, an image void of any real emotional connection, leaving only the biological urge to serve the self. It is socially and culturally sanctioned psychological warfare with children as the target or the targets. Predictive programming. Let's get into predictive programming. Now, this is a PDF. We have a keynote presentation that we're going to have as a digital download. It's going to show full video of, we can't show full video on YouTube because they will put a strike against us because of copyrighted material. But a lot of videos are in this presentation, and it's going to be on the website, fearofablackmoormessiah.com for purchase, for digital download, and for your records and whatnot. But this movie is called Track Down, and it came out in 1958. You could Google it as we're doing this lecture. It's on YouTube. The episode featured a snake oil salesman by the name of Trump who wanted to build a wall. In this 1958 episode from the Western TV series Trackdown, a con man named Trump comes to a town and warns the people that the world will be destroyed and that he can only save them by building a wall. The name is Trackdown and it's on YouTube, okay? Then we told you about what took place with The Simpsons. We showed you the predictive program in The Simpsons. We showed you The Simpsons showed him as president. They showed you and also as the creator or the writer for Back to the Future said Biff was based off of Trump. That's the character that he based it off of. Trump was the president. I mean, Biff was president. No, Trump was president, I believe, in Back to the Future. Okay? Or Biff. Correct me if I'm wrong. But then we also showed you the connection between one of his family members and the Nikola Tesla connection. Nikola Tesla, not the car. All right, Tesla having what was thought of or known to be time traveling technology or the formulas or the components to enact such a thing. And his uncle, who's also a Trump, was part of the agency that took all of those materials, and you've never seen it again and whatnot. So now we come across what we see as what we all know and we're all familiar with, some of us more than others, but G.I. Joe. Okay, and we're going to talk about how the predictive program of these cartoons that we were watching has a lot to do with this reality, this holographic reality, this predictive or predictable reality, or this programmable reality that we live in right now. Watching the shows today, however, was very unsettling. Hold on. G.I. Joe is an iconic cartoon TV show that marked an entire generation of young boys during the 80s. This was the top cartoon of the 80s. That everybody was on G.I. Joe. Most fans still recall the main characters in the epic gunfights. But what about the storyline? A look at the TV series in today's context is quite a strange experience. Many of Cobra's far out plots are actually happening today. Could G.I. Joe be a case of predictive programming? We will look at some of G.I. Joe's episodes describing the replacement of the US dollar and the usage of mind control on celebrities and civilians to see how they relate to today's context. Watching the shows today, however, was very unsettling. Because of open access information laws and the internet, it is slowly coming to light that today's shadow governments are actually carrying out most of Cobra's plans in real life. News about these plans come on a daily basis in mainstream news. The website is Vigilant Citizen that this came from, and they report on them on their website. The G.I. Joe contained predictive programming, a technique based on planting ideas and concepts in the brains of viewers. Let me repeat that. Predictive programming, a technique based on planting ideas and concepts in the brains of viewers in order to make them seem normal and easily accepted when they actually happen. The movie Inception with Leonardo DiCaprio showed you Chris Nolan, the director of the Batman series, the Dark Knight series, was the director of that movie, and they showed you how how ideas and concepts are subconsciously planted in your superconscious mind. There's the conscious mind and there's the superconscious mind. That's the part that we have to program if we want to reprogram and change up anything that we're doing as a people, because that's where the program runs from. Okay. All right. Here's a breakdown of Cobra Commander. He's a fanatical leader who rules with an iron fist and demands total loyalty and allegiance. His objective is total control of the world's people, governments, wealth, and resources brought about by revolution and chaos. He is believed to have personally led uprisings in the Middle East, Southeast Asia, and other trouble spots, and held responsible for kidnapping scientists, businessmen, and military leaders, forcing them to give up their top-level secrets. Okay? Destro, born in Scotland, He belongs to a clan that designed and sold weapons for centuries. So he's a weaponeer. He's a faceless power behind the current incarnation, Mars, their company, their corporate empire, Mars, military armament research system, a state-of-the-art weapons manufacturer and one of the largest multinational corporations in the world. As a businessman, Destro is a cutthroat and unyielding into able to maintain apartments and office buildings in most major cities of the world. Let me repeat that. Destro is a cutthroat and unyielding and is able to maintain apartments and office buildings in most major cities of the world. Exactly what Trump does. His luxurious lifestyles, coldness, most of the sheiks or shipping magnates. His luxurious lifestyles is like most sheiks or shipping magnates. War is his business and passion. Destro believes in the spoils of war and the vast wealth that Mars provides. Look at Baroness. The Baroness serves as Cobra's intelligence officer and the lieutenant to Cobra commander. With long black hair, glasses, and a black leather outfit, she's a dark, sensual femme fatale whose beauty is matched only by her ruthlessness. Okay? She's a villainess. All right? There's some episodes, they had episodes in here where they're having people convert their cash. They collapse the dollar, all right? American attention citizens, due to the financial irresponsibilities and incompetence of your leaders, Cobra has found it necessary to restructure your nation's economy. We have begun by eliminating the worthless green paper which your government has deceived you into believing is valuable. Cobra will come to your rescue. Out of the ashes will arise a new order. Who the hell does that sound like? Who's talking like that right now? Like, who's just coming forth and like, yo, because of your leaders, we're going to restructure your government. We're going to take black history and rename it because of your leaders. We're going to close your border. We're going to close these borders because your leaders made this not safe. So we're going to decide to rearrange everything because we're your leaders and we're bringing forth a new order, like he said at the inauguration. All right. So here's your modern day gold for cash for gold ads that have popped up where people willingly are just going to do that, which doesn't make any goddamn sense. Surprisingly, that is not the case. The bad guys and G.I. Joe are actually funded by a huge American corporation named Extensive Enterprises, and its reptilian leaders carried out their devious plans from hidden Cobra temples. These bases, established all across the world with no regard to national borders, were often situated in mystical locations such as Easter Island or by China's underground terracotta warriors. Cobras apparently believe in the powers of geomancy. In fact, the Cobra organization bears few characteristics of a communist or terrorist organization and many characteristics of an elitist secret society in the style of what we call the Illuminati. There goes the episode, making paper worthless, money paper worthless, taking possession of people's gold. Okay. Mind controlling celebrities to mind control the masses. In the episode entitled Rendezvous in the City of the Dead, Shipwreck and Snake Eyes enter a Cobra-owned nightclub named Snake Club. There, a singer named Satin sings the praise of Cobra in the form of a love song. The singer's backup dancers are dressed alike in Cobra-style costumes. Now, where did I see a famous singer performing on stage with dancers symbolizing the people's oppression? And they threw Beyonce up there. I didn't do that. Congratulations to her with the twins. In this twinning, in this age of twinning, in this era of twinning where Gemini sits in the Oval Office. But Blue is going to take care of that. I believe he's doing something tomorrow because he has to prepare the family for the Super Bowl. All right, let's get into this. This is an article that was showing the donors for Bush, Christie, and all of that were turning to Clinton more than Trump. This was August 9th in the summertime of the campaign. I'm showing you, I'm going to establish who is behind the presidency, who was responsible for the presidency, who is this conglomerate, who are these people that this predictive programming is talking about. I'm going to show you an example of predictive programming, how all of this stuff that you were being programmed. Because remember, like I said, you had David Icke and them come forward. You have cartoons programming us, telling us what the future, preparing us for the New World Order, preparing you for martial law, preparing you through the Illuminati, giving you all of these gems, giving you all of, but it's programming, giving you all of this predictive programming. Then you get the comic books. The comic books are telling you all of this stuff, giving you all of this propaganda, not giving African people their credit, not giving Aboriginal or indigenous people their credit, not giving the, you know what I mean, taking Malcolm X and Martin Luther King and creating groups of Europeans called the X-Men when you were modeling them after black messiahs, when you were modeling them after the messianic warriors that came forward, real life stories, but interpreting it and doing reinterpretations and putting them in whiteface. People complain about blackface, but they don't talk enough about whiteface. They're putting us in whiteface. So the problem that arises from things of that nature is that you are now going to be a victim of their program. You are under the auspices of their programming and their spell. So then they come forward after the comic books with the video games. So in the video games, they were programming. In the video games, they were introducing these concepts. In the video games, they were subtly preparing people to accept it when it came and not fight it and not look at it for it being abnormal, like in the movie They Live, like in the book 1984, like all of these books where they're explaining to you how these people or these groups or these corporations and these entities are coming forward and trying their best to create a society where they don't have your best faith. You don't have you're not at the top. Okay, this is just talking about some donors and stuff like that. Here it goes. Mr. Trump is also relying on Cambridge Analytica, a voter data firm backed by Mr. Mercer, whose staff members are working with Mr. Trump's vendors to identify potential Trump supporters in the electorate, particularly among infrequent voters. A Mercer-backed super PAC supporting Mr. Trump is now being shepherded by David Bossie, a conservative activist whose own projects have been funded in part by Mercer's family foundation, according to taxes. Mr. Bannon has worked particularly closely with the family in recent years. I think they have complete confidence, and rightly so, in Steve Bannon's decisions and what he brings to the table politically, Mr. Bossie says. He has been smart and successful in running these different political operations, and those things have come to the Mercer's attention. We're going to get to the Mercer's, but first let's get to Cambridge Analytica. Cambridge Analytica is a privately held company that combines data mining and data analysis with strategic communication for the electoral process. It was created in 2013 as an offshoot of its British parent company, SCL Group, to participate in American politics. In 2014, CA was involved in 44 U.S. political races. The company is heavily funded by the family of Robert Mercer, an American hedge fund billionaire. In 2015, it became known as the Data Analysis Company, working initially for Ted Cruz's presidential campaign. In 2016, after Cruz's campaign had faltered, Cambridge Analytica started to work for Donald Trump's presidential campaign. The firm maintains offices in New York, Washington, D.C., and London. Okay, all of the places, all of the centers of power, prestige, and influence in this Western society, aka this matrix or the system. Okay, so they began working for your boy Trump. Let's start to see how things begin to change miraculously, magically for Trump as a result of that. Cruz's campaign pays $750,000 to psychographic profiling company. Yo, Red, what does this got to do with anything? This has to do with the fact that the people who put him in the White House are in the White House. The people who got behind this man, you need to know who these people are. I'm going to deliver information, names, and companies that you need to know who these people are. They're going to be presented in the news and the media sooner or later down the line. They will be revealed. It will come out like Information in 1 and 2 came out. But you need to understand the people who are actually behind the psyops. This is the proverbial lifting of the veil and peeling back certain layers of the curtain in order to see the Wizards of the Oz, so we could demystify and decalcify your pineal. A little known data company, listen to the language that they use as well, because the press and everybody are all on code. They get these articles pre-written. You understand? There's certain things that they can't say and certain things that they can say, but understand code, know how to read, know when they speak in code. Ted Cruz's presidential is using psychological data based on research spanning tens of millions of Facebook users, harvested largely without their permission, to boost his surging White House run or gain an edge over Donald Trump or other Republican rivals, The Guardian can reveal. So if they could get psychological data off of Facebook from tens of millions of their users without their permission, for your boy Ted Cruz, who's a nobody, or somebody in that world, okay? But he's a nobody to us. But if they could do that for him, can they do that for Bannon? Or can they do it for Trump? Where these world scale events, like we were talking about earlier, are actually they create these world scale events, or they create these false flags, and then they have it looped 24-hour news cycles. Like George Soros, he purchased a news cycle for the Mike Brown story in Ferguson to insert BLM and introduce them through the world. That was a sponsored news cycle. But that loop, that continuum of Black Death, that continuous loop of seeing our young brother, that young God, laying on the floor with his brains splattered, okay? They didn't even put a sheet over him. When you saw the execution of Alton Sterling, Philandro Castile, when you saw the loop of those were having psychological effects on people who may be already suffering from PS, post-traumatic slave syndrome. And then they were on social media being social about it. So the people who are studying us psychologically, they are collecting data based off of engaging the impressions and the way people are reacting online. It's not a conspiracy. It's not even nothing to get mad crazy about, because you actually signed off for that shit when you be signing those agreements that nobody reads. I don't be reading them. You feel me? So it's called data mining, but I'm just breaking it down to, how it's used and what it's used for and how information is collected. If you did not know this already, some people do know that. All right. And for those that do know, spread more information. That's what these chat rooms for. Add on people that do know more and they have more information. Please, this is a build. We're brainstorming. Okay. This is a think tank. If you here tonight, you here for a reason. All right. You're here for many people are doing whatever they have to do, and it has nothing to do with you. As a part of an aggressive new voter targeting operation, Cambridge Analytica, financially supported by reclusive hedge fund magnate and leading Republican donor Robert Mercer, is now using so-called psychographic profiles of U.S. citizens in order to help win Cruz votes, despite earlier concerns and red flags from potential survey makers. All right, so they left him alone. They harvesting, all right? They're using a firm that's harvesting people's stuff, and nobody had a problem with that. This is Cambridge. They are like Dr. Mindbender in them. So now they're with Trump. They're behind Trump all the way. They were the ones who put Trump in the White House. Trump's plan for a comeback, he was losing the race. He was known as Loser Donald at this point. This is what he was known as. People have wrote him off. They threw him away around August. Then comes a billionaire. Then comes a psychographic profiling company, a multi-billion-dollar funded super PAC that has an agenda. And now with Steve Bannon on board and other people on board, and boom, that nigga takes off. In the Fifth Avenue Tower near Trump Tower, a company is being paid millions of dollars by Donald Trump's presidential campaign, says it developed a political weapon powerful enough to help the Republican nominee overcome his troubles and win the White House. The key is a psychological model for identifying voters that can determine the personality of every single adult in the United States of America, said Alexander Nix. Go and look him up. Chief executive of Cambridge Analytica, the little known company which has operated in the United States for 4 years, opened its office here only a month ago and is clearly at the center of Trump's quest for a last minute comeback against Democrat Hillary Clinton. New federal filings show the campaign's payments to the firm ballooning from 250 racks to 5 million. This is Cambridge Analytica. Will Donald Trump's data analytics company allow Russia to access research on U.S. citizens? Here goes where Russia comes in. Nobody wants to talk about these people. That's why you know that it's a fucking farce. That's why you know that it's propaganda. That's why you know all the alt facts and fake news is all of them. These are the people who sold all of the data to the Russians. They worked in tandem. The Trump campaign has hired Ted Cruz's former data analytics firms, Cambridge Analytica. In doing so, it has connected itself with a British property tycoon, Vince's, I can't pronounce his last name, and through him with the Ukrainian oligarch Dmitry Firtash, a business associate of Trump's campaign manager Paul Manafort, who resigned last week. It would be hard to find a better example of why the ownership of the companies that collect data on the American electorate matters. What Cambridge does is what marketers have done for some time: segment potential customers, in this case voters, because they could segment any group by their buying habits, lifestyle, and psychology. It most famously worked on the Leave, the campaign during Brexit voting in the United Kingdom. So they were the company who were responsible for Brexit being a surprise win. Cambridge Analytica's British company SCL has attracted criticism for some unusual strategies, such as trying to persuade opposition supporters not to vote in the Nigerian election using the influence of local religious figures. Mainly through SCL and CA, both seem to have some pretty tired ideas. The firm groups people according to where they fall on a so-called ocean scale, which psychologists use to measure how open, conscientious, extroverted, agreeable, or neurotic they are. There's nothing evil or particularly smart about this psychological profile. Like I said, listen to the language, which has been around for decades, and it's questionable if it actually works to predict voter behavior. But I told you about them predicting the behavior of a toddler becoming a criminal. I explained that they had researcher predicting the behavior of a baby. Okay, here's more articles on them. Let's get into Robert Mercer, this guy that we keep hearing about. Over more than half of a decade, Mrs. Mercer's father, who is Rebecca Mercer, who is the Baroness from G.I. Joe, the New York investor Robert Mercer, another New Yorker, Trump is a New Yorker, has carved an idiosyncratic path through conservative politics, spending tens of millions of dollars to outflank his own party's consultant class and unnerve its established powers. His fortune has financed think tanks and insurgent candidates, super PACs, and media watchdogs, lobbying groups, and grassroots organizations. Many of them are now connected one way or another to Mr. Trump's presidential bid. Mr. Trump's new campaign manager, Kellyanne Conway, is a veteran Republican pollster who previously oversaw a super PAC financed by the Mercers. Mr. Bannon oversaw Breitbart, an outlet that has often amplified Mr. Trump's message and attacked his perceived enemies. Mr. Mercer reportedly invested $10 million in Breitbart several years ago and most likely still has a stake. A company sharing an address with Renaissance Technology, the head fund Mr. Mercer, co-CEO of Renaissance Technologies on Long Island, is best known politically for donating $11 million to Keep the Promise One, a super PAC backing Ted Cruz's presidential run. Beyond Mercer's support of Black Americans for a Better Future and Ted Cruz, Mercer has a long and peculiar history of donations to political and philanthropic causes. The Mercer Family Foundation has given $1.4 to the Oregon Institute of Science and Medicine, which is stockpiling huge amounts of human urine to revolutionize the evaluation of personal chemistry. In 2010, he spent $600,000 in an effort to elect OISM's co-founder Arthur Robinson to Congress. OISM is eager to collect as much urine as possible. So if you would like to donate a sample of your own, the details is of you niggas have a chance to get a check. Go and give them some urine. BABF appears to exist solely as a vehicle for Washington, D.C. consultant Raynard Jackson, who is an African American. We got to talk about Raynard Jackson. He's the one cutting the coons the check. He's the one cutting the black people who are coming. He's the one that cuts niggas a check to go and see Trump. That's how they're working. I just named a soup. I just told you we're going to get into Mercer, but I named the thing. We talked about, they talked in the article how he funded $10 million into Breitbart. Now picture this. We're all familiar with Black Magic 363, Brother UGR, Brother Rich's channel. All right. And Brother Rich lets the family know, we exist due to the funding that the people have given us. We appreciate everybody's donation. Thank you for all of your support. Imagine if somebody came along and put $10 million behind his platform. Imagine if somebody came and put $10 million behind HOK. Imagine if somebody came and put $10 million behind KTL and elevated our media platforms, our media empires to levels that are, on level with what is known as the big boys. That's what Robert Mercer is responsible for doing for Breitbart. Breitbart, it would be the equivalent to your furthest, think about your furthest, most extremist, non-conformist, you know what I'm saying? I'm talking about triple black power. I'm talking about, just think about all the way to that side. Now think about that on that side. Just put a white face on it. That's what the equivalent of a Breitbart is, especially when it comes to advocating for the genocide, the outright genocide, through arguing a modern day form of eugenics or eugenics research, or alt facts, all of the justifications, all of the flawed scholarship, all of the pseudo scholarship that they have master teachers, like they have master teachers. They have their forms of a conscious community. You feel me? They have their schools of their enlightenment. So their teachers have put forth books, novels, treatises, and this is what they have utilized as their foundation that they stand on. Okay? So People talk crazy about what they're doing, but they're showing you how you snatch power. They're explain, like, we have a lot of millionaires in the athletic field. We have a ton of millionaires that have come out of what is known as hip hop. Got a plethora of entertainers who have cracked the ceiling of the 100 million mark in liquid. And everybody says that they want for their people. But if anybody knows politics and they're not playing off of the ignorance of the majority or the populace, they know that you have to fund your candidates and you also have to come forward as a super PAC. This program, the people who are dictating all of these executive orders, that's the Heritage Foundation, and that's some of these super PACs that I just named. It's not I'm not doing conspiracy. I'm simply reporting the news as it should be reported, responsibly. So we as a people have to not only pay attention to what's being done and how things were done. This is already done. This is already history. You know what I'm saying? We're just documenting it. But we also have to begin to ask ourselves, how serious are we ready to be, and how much are we, who's ready to actually do the work that's required to even say that you have a super PAC, meaning fund it. All right, let's just showing these were different elections that they were involved in. They brought Congress in when nobody thought Congress could get in. All right, they came into the presidential 2016 in July. Okay, so do the trajectory, go back and look at how things begin to change for Trump after July. You know what I mean? Ben Carson was also a client. He's the second client. Ted Cruz being the first. Ben Carson was the second client, and then you get Trump. Okay? They said that our models predicted most of late movement correctly, and Alexander Nix indicated the CA's involvement took an instrumental part in the win. Okay? The trends that they were able to predict were responsible for the boost towards the presidential elect and industrial Midwest. And people are going to be like, but he lost the popular vote. Listen, the map is red, bro. Okay? The whole fucking map was red. I got it up here. I'll show you. The map was red. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not here to talk about what he didn't win. And yeah, he's a selected president. He's not the president elect. He's select. But what I'm trying to show you is this company was instrumental because of what the tools that they possess, the technology that they've used. Like, technology is out there. Is how are you using it? They're utilizing technology as it's supposed to be utilized now, not to be, you know what I'm saying, romanticizing the old technology that existed thousands of years ago. No, they're dealing with right now. And this is what you see. All right. So this is the company SEL, real quick. All right. They deal with defense. A leading practitioner of psychological approaches. A leading practitioner of psychological approaches to conflict resolution, including population messaging and information operations, social, delivering communication strategy and behavior change campaigns that really matter in the social, cultural, and NGO sectors. Elections, a global election management agency skilled in applying behavioral modeling and micro-targeting solutions to political camp. You know what micro-targeting is? That's zeroing in on that ass. Helping brands build better relationship with their customers, psychographic targeting, and data-driven communication strategies. So the head company that got behind Donald Trump, this in the White House by way of Stephen Bannon and the whole team I'm about to show this is the company. It's called SCL. This is the parent company. This is where Cobra Command and them was working for. Working at the forefront of behavioral change communication for over 25 years, SCL has evolved into a multi-discipline group of behavioral research and communication agencies. It's a private British behavioral research and strategic communication company. It's known as Cambridge Analytical in the United States. It performs data mining and data analysis on its audience. Based on results, communications will be specifically targeted to key audience groups to modify behavior in accordance with the goal of SCL's client. The company describes itself as a global election management agency. London-based SCL was founded by Nigel Cakes, who serves as the CEO. He was in background in TV production and advertising. He founded the Behavioral Dynamics Institute as a research facility for strategic communication. The study of mass behavior and how to change it led him to establish strategic communication laboratories in 1993. Oakes through that in order would shift mass opinion, academic insights as gained through psychologists and anthropologists at BDI should be applied and would be more successful than traditional advertising methods. BDI became a nonprofit affiliate of SCL. What that says in a nutshell is this, that he thought that in order to shift mass opinion, academic insights as gained through psychologists and anthropologists at BDI, which is Behavioral Dynamics Institute, like I said, they're studying you, psychologists. You're on social media, but you're being studied, bruh. We're all being studied. This is what they're doing with data. They're coming up with, and it's not us. I'm not saying this about us. Don't get, look, breathe. There we go. Breathe. I'm talking about they programming their own people. They're programming the Trumpers. They're programming the Fox 5. They're programming the rest of white America and putting them on code. They're programming through the media. I'm talking about they're putting coons on code. They're putting other people. I'm just giving you the script to how this movie is being played out. But I'm also saying, yeah, if they decided to, if they ever wanted to, okay. SCL Group calls itself a global election management agency known for involvement in military disinformation campaigns to social media branding and voter targeting. SLC's involvement in the political world has been primarily in the developing world, where it has been used by the military and politicians to study and manipulate public opinion and political will. SCL claims to have been successful to help foment coups. Okay. What does that sound like? Where's my fucking bomb? What does that sound like? What just happened? That's fake news. Okay? That's the Russians was in the election. That's the FBI coming to the conclusion that yes, but if you can't touch corporations, if you can't touch these billionaires, if you can't touch Cobra Commander, CIA, FBI, and all of these other, or when they do their research and they find that there's somebody behind all of this. But look at their job description. Look at what they said that they do. It's not even a fucking secret. The SCL Group calls itself a global election management agency. So we just had a global election. That it seemed that, many different agencies was like, listen, this one wasn't really what you think it is. And I don't know who read the shit in the community, because I've been trying to update, get on Facebook, and I'm online, and I be trying to look for the status update. I haven't caught it yet. I'm waiting for somebody needs to read that and say, and report back, yo, what they talk about, what they talking about. But you got to have a certain glasses on. So let's move forward. Because this is just the beginning. Like, this is page 73. Look at how many slides. We ain't gonna get through everything, but we're gonna get there. Let's break down strategic communication, because they are also dealing with strategic communication. Now, when we're breaking all of this down, utilize the concept of the Wizard of Oz theory, the Geppetto puller, the string puller, the one who's pushing things through Bannon. You know what I'm saying? The people who are moving certain things behind the scenes. The reason why all of the public is being fired is saying that they're quitting. Oh, all of these people quit today, or all of these people left. Well, shit. A lot of people get moved out. Who's moving in? Behavior analysis, big data, and psychographics are breaking down traditional audience blocks into their constituent parts, individual people. And I'm also saying that, for my techies out there, where's your company at that can rival this? You know what I'm saying? Please, we're waiting for you to present that. Strategic communication can mean either communicating a concept, a process, or data that satisfies a long-term strategic goal of an organization by allowing facilitation of advanced planning, or communicating over long distances, usually using international telecommunications or dedicated global network assets to coordinate actions and activities of operationally significant commercial, non-commercial, and military business or combat and logistics subunits. It can also mean the related function within an organization which handles internal and external communication processes. Strategic communication can also be used for political warfare. Walk with me. Strategic communication refers to policy making and guidance for consistent information activity within an organization and between organizations. Equivalent business management terms are integrated marketing communication, organizational communication, corporate communication, institutional communication, etc. In the U.S., strategic communication is defined as focused United States government efforts to understand and engage key audiences to create, strengthen, or preserve conditions favorable for the advancement of the United States government's interests, policies, and objectives through the use of coordinated programs, plans, themes, messages, and products synchronized with the actions of all instruments of national power. Strategic communication management could be defined as the systematic planning or realization of information flow, communication, media development, and image care and long-term horizon. It conveys a deliberate message through the most suitable media to the designated audience at the appropriate time to contribute to and achieve the desired long-term effect. Communication management is process creation. It has to bring three factors into balance: the message, the media channel, and the audience. An alternative view of strategic communication is offered by Steve Tatum of the UK Defense Academy. He argues that whilst it is desirable to bound and coordinate communications together, particularly from governments or the military, it should be regarded in a much more fundamental manner than simply process. The informational effect should be placed at the very epicenter of command, and that all action must be calibrated against that effect, including the evaluation of the second and third order effects. This is, he argues, proper strategic communication singular an abstract noun, whilst the actual process of communicating, which include target audience analysis, evaluation of conduits, measurement and effects, is strategic communications. Okay, I could go on. Communication is strategic when it is completely consistent with the organization mission, vision, values, and when it is able to enhance the strategic positioning and competitiveness between their competitors. It is important to understand the concept of communication strategy. It should be seen from the organization's perspective and no one else besides them. As a result of this communication, strategic communication should follow. The nation of organizational communication in general and strategic communication in particular is defined as the purposeful use of communication by an organization to fulfill its mission, stated by Halauhen 2007. So what I'm saying in a nutshell is this. What you call propaganda, what you call what they're doing, what you call white people being on code, and all of these things, it is called, in these terms, strategic communications. We have to learn the jargon and the lexicon. It is deeper than propaganda. They are communicating strategically. You don't know. You think they are communicating in ways you might not be on the communication line. Your ass might not be logged in. But there's a communication taking place in this company that is behind him and Bannon, and they're talking to they're having a communication with other people around the world that are in power and in position, and they're not playing games, and they're having a communication with them strategically.
Right.
Are we having strategic communication? Can we qualify to this? In some senses, some ways, yeah. I can't go through all of this. Trump's 17 cabinet level picks have more money than a third of an American households combined. All of this research, mind you, was done prior to everything, prior to the inauguration and prior to now. The majority of this lecture was finished prior to the inauguration time, but because so much has been going, it's organic. This is going to be ongoing. I had to add all kind of stuff in. And you'll notice that there are parts that I've done the preview here with the audience. So I'm going to fly through those pieces, but I can't assume that there are people who everyone saw that. You feel me? So this is his cabinet, and they have more money than a third of the American households combined.
That's real, man. God damn.
We just have to put it into terms, because they talk about they're rich people, they're you know what I mean, their taxes. No, listen. The household data on which we base our comparison. The household data on which we base our comparison is from the 2013 Survey of Consumer Finances, collected by the Federal Reserve. This survey is the most recent comprehensive data source on American wealth. So they're just saying we are composing America's wealth by the data we composed that they collected in 2013. But the trend is over the last several decades suggests a large change is unlikely. There was no collapsing of economies and no real huge boom. It's worth noting that almost 13% of American households have zero or negative wealth because of debt. So we are adding together these households with those that have at least some wealth. If we just compare the wealth of Trump's cabinet to the median household, it is still an impressive concentration of riches. It would take about 120,000 households with the United States median net worth of about 83,000 to match the wealth of just the 4 richest members of Trump's cabinets: Betsy DeVos, Wilbur Ross Jr., Lyndon McMahon, and Rex Tillerson. Let me explain to you. Lyndon McMahon is Vince McMahon's wife. Betsy DeVos is Eric Prince's sister. Eric Prince is Blackwater. That's his sister, is Betsy DeVos. Rex Tillerson is the 20-year CEO of ExxonMobil. ExxonMobil has the gross GP of the 17th nation. If they were a nation, they would be the 17th in the world. It's a nation within themselves. I'm gonna get to Rex. I'm gonna get to Rex and all of the cabinet. Let me go through the cabinet.
That's some good.
Yeah.
That's some good research you're doing, man. You like Steve Coakley with this research tonight, man. It's like, damn, man, you going in on the research, man.
Facts. I honor my master teachers. So listen, this is your cabinet. Get familiar with them. Don't get emotional. Just find out who you're dealing with. Jeff Sessions at the Justice Department. Mad Dog Mathis. These are the Inquisitors. These are the Crusaders. Let's just call it what it is. These are the Crusaders. These are the Inquisitors. This is the Fourth Reich. Okay. If you do, I'll do a brief research on some of them. Okay. Ben Carson at HUD. Now, during the campaign, they were talking about super predators. The fact that Hillary utilized the term super predators. Okay. The fact that Hillary were referring to the black youth of the 90s. She made that statement in the 90s. So she was referring to the crime wave of New York City and also the crime wave that was taking place on the West Coast by way of the gangs and things of that nature, and the fact that the research that they had back then when they were studying the brains of toddlers and the results of the behavior, the behavior modification that took place as a result of their war on drugs, which doubled as a war on black people, which also doubled as a chemical war or a biological war by way of the viruses, and then a chemical war by way of the crack. That they basically have told you in so many ways. I think it's in 4 languages that they were the ones, not just dropped it off, not that they just were the ones that whipped it up in a lab one day with the flick of the wrist. No, they cooked that shit intentionally to stop the rise of a people, because that's why drugs are intentionally put in your neighborhood to defocalize, to create wars, you know what I'm saying, to create death and destruction. That's policy, family. These are policies that are actually on paper. So these are super predators. Okay? They trying to hit you with the blind, like you as a person who has been placed in a poverty, placed in a situation as an aboriginal, indigenous, native to the land of America. You have no access to any resources whatsoever. We don't even have to go further than that. Like, I could spend an hour going in on that. That's just it. Like, you don't have access to any resources, and you're a prisoner on your own land. All right? And then you're called a super predator, and you're hunted by other predators. So we also have something called this dynasty. The people are enamored by dynasty, by way of dynasty, by way of Falcon Crest, by way of the soap operas. You dig what I'm saying? By way of Camelot. So the dynasty that exists, we talk about the 18th dynasty and the other dynasty. Well, there's dynasties that exist in this corporation. You know what I mean? In this United States of America, and you're looking at them right here.
But Red, what about those who say Trump is anti-establishment and he's breaking up the dynasty? You ever seen what happens when the dynasty gets broken up? That's what the Trump supporters are saying is happening. They're saying that Alex Jones is saying he's breaking up that picture you just showed.
There it goes right here. Hillary and Bill Clinton going to Donald Trump's inauguration despite bruising campaign. So if somebody went in on the whole family, you feel me? Dragged you. I'm talking about was like, yo, you was raping women and all that. talking dirty about you. By you showing up to his inauguration, what are you saying? So, no, he has a dynasty of his own. Remember, he brings in Trump dynasty. He's going to put his sons in them in the dictator seat later on, probably. So he still represents dynasty. He's not doing nothing wrong to Bush and them. He ain't bothering none of them. Where's Obama at right now? On vacation, right?
With his hat backwards.
You feel me? So this is his dude right here. All right? Know who this is. Find out about this guy. I'm going to show you the new super predators. Get familiar. Reince Priebus. That's the chief of staff. What you need to know about him. Along with Breitbart News Steve Bannon, he'll be working as equal partners to transform the federal government. Bannon was appointed as chief strategist and senior counselor to the president. Then he got moved up. We're going to talk about that. Despite Trump's promise to drain the swamp of establishment politicians, Priebus is a Washington insider who is expected to help restore Trump's relationship with Republican Party leaders. Here are 7 things to know about Trump's new right-hand man. Steve Bannon. Okay. The most powerful man right now in America, according to the positions. If you read any of his writings, just look at him. Like, so it went from the website Breitbart and the Stormfront, the chat rooms and all of that. Now that's right there. This is right. That's in the White House. So this is the person that's pulling the strings. That's what, I didn't say that. I'm going to show you the articles. That's what the press is saying. You feel me? They're like President Bannon. So we're going to do a little research on him in a minute. Jeff Sessions, as you know. I mean, just take a look at Jeff. Okay? Look at Elaine. He even had a Crowley. Okay? But I believe that she didn't make it in the cabinet. But there goes your Crowley. He names Rudy Giuliani as cybersecurity advisor. The irony in that. Okay? He heads a cybersecurity firm for Giuliani Partners. He'll serve as an advisor in finding solutions to cyber incursions in the private sector and to advise the government on possible responses. Giuliani, an early Trump supporter, was a top candidate for Secretary of State in the Trump administration, but was passed over for former ExxonMobil chief executive Rex Tillerson. So you got Giuliani over the internet. Mr. Giuliani was asked to initiate this process because of his long and very successful government career in law enforcement and his now 16 years of work providing security solutions in the private sector. Okay, there goes Crowley. These are the. Don't be surprised if his picture don't pop up in the White House one day. All right, this is some information about Rex Tillerson real quick. So we could find out, we could learn a thing or two about the Secretary of State, Rex Tillerson. The complaint alleges that from 2000 to 2004, private military security forces employed by ExxonMobil to protect its natural gas operations in the Aceh province, Indonesia, committed the cited offenses against local villagers. From 76 to 2005, Akay was embroiled in a violent independence struggle. In the midst of the conflict, ExxonMobil essentially privatized Indonesian soldiers, the complaint argues, despite their well-documented history of abusing Indonesian citizens, and aided and abetted the human rights violations through financial and other direct material support. ExxonMobil has fought the case for 15 years, denying not the human rights abuse, but rather that the company should be liable. A federal judge ruled, however, not only that the company must stand trial, but also sufficient evidence demonstrates that ExxonMobil corporate officers exerted significant control over the security decisions made by its Indonesian subsidiary. All right. So this is Rex Tillerman. Rex Tillerman could be America's most dangerous Secretary of State. In August, according to the complaint, in August 2000, soldiers working for ExxonMobil beat and tortured him using electricity all over his body, including his genitals. After approximately 3 months, the soldiers took off his blindfold, took him outside the building where he had been detained, and showed him a pit where there was a large pile of human heads. The soldiers threatened to kill him and add his head to the pile. He was ultimately released, only to have soldiers later to burn down his house. On January 1st, Rex Tillerson retired from oil giant ExxonMobil after 41 years. The last 10 as CEO and chairman of the board. So this nigga is oil. Okay, like he's just oil. When he's not pro-oil, he's just oil. When he appears in January before the U.S. Senate Foreign Relations Committee to be considered for U.S. Secretary of State, ExxonMobil will be preparing to appear before a jury at the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia just blocks away. There, the company will face allegations the security forces under its employ engaged in serious human rights abuses, including murder, torture, sexual violence, kidnapping, battery, assault, burning, arbitrary arrest, detention, and false imprisonment. The complaint specifically names Rex Tillerman. All right. The private military industry allows you to fight wars without having your own blood on a gambling table, and that creates moral hazard because it lowers the barriers of entry into conflict. Let's talk about these mercenaries, okay? We're going to get into these PMCs real quick, because in this complaint you see that they're saying that Exxon is using private military forces. PMCs is what they're called. And we have a president who is walking around. He's not using only the Secret Service. Steve Bannon and them, they're not using it. They have PMCs working with them at this point. Private military contractors are beginning to pick up contracts in order to work for their corporate sponsors. So the private military industry allows you to fight wars, Look at what's going on in Nigeria right now. If those mercenaries hired by Nigeria to kill Boko Haram are actually succeeding, and it looks like they are, according to reports, and that's not a whole lot of backlash in the international community, I can imagine somebody saying, well, let's do this against Al-Shabaab. And I could also imagine private military actors showing up and saying, you know, when you hired those mercenaries in Nigeria, they were really effective, but they were really expensive. I could do the exact same thing at 1/10 of the price by using this fleet of 200 drones that are armed. So I can see a situation of arms escalation, trying to get price points that make sense for consumers, if you will. I hate to commodify conflict that way, but that's kind of what this industry is about. Private armies also can maybe do things that the national army maybe can't do. They can do things that the national army maybe can't. Sounds like G.I. Joe to me, bruh. Huh? When you're a soldier in the army and you're fighting at an enemy alongside several other soldiers, you don't know if it was your gun, your bullet that killed someone. I'd rather not know, says Stephen Friday, who spent 12 years in the British Army before becoming a private military contractor PMC in 2008 working in Iraq and Afghanistan. The first time he ever shot somebody and knew about it was a PMC. The firefighters were a lot closer and a lot more personal. It was more dangerous. As a soldier, he had once come under fire for 7 hours in Baghdad, but as a PMC, I would say it was worse. When you're in the army, you got an army behind you. As a PMC, you can't call for backup and you can't call fire missions in. Certainly my worst incidents were as a PMC rather than in military. He was shot at sniper, survived a handful of roadside bombs, grenade attacks, once a bullet larger than bulletproof glass, Anybody saw American Sniper, you saw how the PMCs were there, and or everybody that plays those video games, that's the PMC. So I'm like, well, where's your PMC? Where's the dudes from the NBA's PMC? Where's these rappers PMC? Where's the PMC that could have protect Pimp C? What did he do it? For the money, of course. There were periods when he could earn up Check 1 2 1 2. Are we on the air? All right. We in the building. Gang. All right. This what just happened. Yeah, I think they can hear me. Let's see. Yeah, they say they can hear me.
Yeah, did you?
Facts. That's all right. Pick up where we left off. I was thinking in laws of competition. Hold on. This is a conversation that, let's go.
Let Red get that together. We had some technical difficulties. It's a little more work when live stream is involved, in the technology that's involved, in the PowerPoint presentations that's involved. I know y'all rarely see PowerPoint presentations, keynote presentations on live stream. This is something you usually see at a lecture. So in order to present it live in this fashion, we don't do it the regular way of just having a webcam. There's extra equipment used to ensure quality instead of me just zooming in on a television set. So I want to thank you for your patience, and Red Pill at this time is going to continue his presentation. Let all your friends know that we back on the air. We're not going to take that much more of your time, but we definitely appreciate you for tuning in. You ready, Red Pill?
Yes, sir.
And that's that. Go ahead, bro.
All right. Let's do a little bit of cover some more mercenaries. I want you to know about these mercenaries because what's taking place in America right now. Huh? I said I need to drink now. Yeah, give me something to drink, please. What's taking place in America? What's taking place in America with some water. With the destabilization of just society. These characters or these actors are going to play a major role, in the future. These characters and these actors may even be you in the future. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're taking their killers, right? And they're legalizing, or they got killers chasing checks. They call them the dogs of war. You may have people around your way, they call themselves dogs of war. And they're mercenaries. Some of them may be for hire, some of them may not be for hire. But when you look at it in those terms, you may understand, what you're saying. And you may even understand how far some of these men are going, or these armies are taking it even further than the gangs. All right. The return of the dogs of war. What is it like to be a soldier for hire? It's one thing to pull the trigger for your country, quite another for a corporation. As a new report reveals how private military contractors have changed the face of conflict and reveal how conflict has changed them. The return of the mercenary, how private armies and the technology they use are changing warfare. Domestic private security in Africa, which targets criminal activities, is widespread. So a lot of them are in Africa killing Africans for corporations, getting checks and living out their racist agendas, you know, living out their bloodlust, living out their crusader, white supremacists, sadomasochists, you know, bloodlust. And they go to Africa, they go to places in the Caribbean, they go to Haiti, you know what I mean? And they go in and put in that, they go in and put in work. You know what I'm saying? In the name and in the interest of corporations. But as we know, these corporations could be corporate commander or other things of that nature, you know, Exxon, you know, Trump and corporations. It could be your incorporation, though. I'm speaking to those with corporations, LLCs and things of that nature. You do qualify to have mercenaries. You do qualify to have PMCs. You do qualify to exercise Second Amendment. You know what I mean? You do qualify to have armies that rival those armies, because you may have people who, you know, have to, they have these tendencies, these warrior tendencies, these soldier for hire, mercenary type of ways, and you may need them to protect your assets. So think about that. Domestic private security in Africa. There's a number of large transnational private military and security contractors who, along with their subsidiaries, guard mining sites, train national militaries and police, and provide security for development or humanitarian agencies. Even international development or UN peacekeeping or peace building operations sometimes contract with private military and security contractors for various logistical support services. It is fitting in an ironic sense that modern private military and security contractors should be operating in Africa. After all, Africa gave rise to much of the modern private military and security contractors industry. The pioneer in the field was South Africa-based Executive Outcomes, EO, which shut down in 1998 after having fought Jones Savimbi's rebel UNITA group in Angola and the murderous Revolutionary United Front in Sierra Leone. Even earlier, mercenary companies such as Five Commando fought in the Belgian Congo and elsewhere during the 1960s. So all of that is code for saying these are the armies who are responsible for massacring, you know what I'm saying, and capturing and, you know, taking over a lot of our peoples and a lot of indigenous land and resources and things of that nature. Why it's a gold mine for private military and security contractors in Africa. And it's twofold why I'm also showing this as well. This is for research purposes. This is also for motivational purposes, because I'm a futurist. I'm also a visionary. You know what I mean? I'm asking questions. What I'm saying is this: how is it that there are law enforcement, military, and people who have guns, weapons out the wazoo, right? They're armed to the teeth. They're armed to the teeth, but they have never considered for once to form private military companies or security contractors? Why aren't they the security contractors in Africa? Why aren't they protecting the interests of the resources that belong to the villagers or the villages in Africa from the corporations? Or why are they not policing neighborhoods as security contractors, not even in Africa, but in America? So, Blue Pill is in the building.
Blue Pill in the house, in the building. Blue.
Let's let Blue
Indeed.
Yeah.
Peace, Shani.
Indeed. Peace to the God.
I'm enjoying this live stream. I had to participate.
Thank
Seen
you
you
so
touching on a
much.
lot of points that
And it's only right that you're here with
Yeah,
me.
you need some blue magic.
44 Savage is a part of this presentation. Like I said, family, this is a very information-laden, detail-orientated dissertation. I spent how many months did I spend in preparation?
Long time.
Very long. So as a result of digging in very deep, I've struck oil. You know what I mean? I have a lot of oil for the family, a lot of jewels, you know, to share. So this we're gonna go through. We're going all the way from the PMCs to get to where we wanted to arrive.
There's something that I heard you saying on the live stream, and I was like, I wish I was there to add on. We're talking about Rex Tillerman and comments made by Trump very recently, where he blames the rise of ISIS to the fact that America, or U.S. for that matter, didn't take the oil fields from Iraq.
Yes.
He says that they expended trillions of dollars going to war, and they didn't get no ROI. What was the return on the investment? The investment, he knew that the pay would always be in the oil, and the political juxtaposition that goes on between the Saudi Arabians and, you know, OPEC and all of this stuff. He's like, God damn it, the chess piece, y'all left the chess piece. What's the sense of playing chess if you're going to leave the chess piece? So what did he say? He said, there'll be future opportunities in which we'll have to correct these wrongs. And they're like, well, what are you talking about? Look, I don't want to play my hand, because y'all will always make comments about going into Fallujah or Mosul or other conflicts. You remember? They'll make press. They'll have press releases about going into these conflict zones in 2 or 3 months. And then they said, by the time they go into them, the adversaries would have already retreated, or they'll build fortification. So it's more of an intensified fortified. So what did he go and do? He went and got General Mathis. He got Mad Dog Mathis as his very first pick, being that I believe Mad Dog was involved with the surge and everything when they was going up in Fallujah. So he has already, in so many words, said, look, we have every plan on going back into Iraq and taking that oil. And then to have Rex Tillerman, under the ISIS flag, black flag, you know what I'm saying? So you gotta watch and see where the coalition is starting to form with him and Putin, where they're gonna use again ISIS as the black flag to say, well, we have to form a coalition to defeat ISIS. You go to Iraq, I'll handle Syria. You understand? And we've neutralized these other African countries, you know, and Boko Haram, like you said, Al Shabaab and all of that. We're gonna give that to private military contractors, so we don't, so we don't have to risk the lives of your nice, warm-blooded American children. You know what I'm saying? We ain't gotta send them into war zones. We're gonna do drones and PMCs. And then the people, of course, they were like, all right, we with that.
And not only can they not come into America, but they're going to begin restrictions where you can't go there. So as the PMCs go over there, because all of these places are all still oil-rich places.
Yes.
All of these places are in alignment with certain plans that we'll discuss.
Yeah, and I think I saw the post on Instagram. I didn't get a chance to fact check it, but these days it don't matter, because it's all facts. It's all the way live. So they said that these are the countries that are yet not part of the
Rothschild Bank.
Yeah.
But these all are countries that are featured prominently in the first dissertation, which was Fear of a Blackamoor Messiah 1, as Moorish proverb, you know, places where the story emerged from. Iraq and Iran.
Yes, Baghdad.
The first caliphate, Baghdad.
Indeed.
The Somalia, the Sudan.
Absolutely.
Libya with the Barbary pirates,
All
the Barbary
day.
coast, Carthage, Hannibal. It just fit the mold of a crusades. So in the crusades, there was something called a capitulation of the Moors and a capitulation of the Jews that took place in 1610, when they were like, yo, not only are we suppressing the people who lost the war here, but we like, yo, y'all all gotta leave, and then we're building this wall, You feel me? And you never, if you come back, it's off with your head. You dig what I'm saying?
Right.
So it was called the capitulation of the Moors, and that's when they begin to cleanse and clean their blood and begin to whiten their countries. This is how Portugal became white again. This is how Spain whitened itself. So the question has to be asked, when people are under siege, they build a wall around them.
Facts.
All right. Anybody who watches Game of Thrones, or if anyone plays video games and are into strategy, if you play fucking Mario or Zelda, you understand what a wall is. Walls don't keep people. This is not, the winter is not coming. The White Walkers are here. They're not coming. You don't build a wall to keep them out. So no, El Chapo's in Brooklyn.
Facts.
There's underground tunnels because they know things that, you know, a lot of people don't know. But that wall, I don't know about that. You know what I'm saying? So let's get on this dude right here, because a lot of people, this one I knew that everything that Phil said in, what year was that? Death March 20, and I opened up paying homage to the master teacher by reading the notes that I collected on the what was the name of that show that he did with you, the prophetic show right before the election.
I forget,
but he nailed everything. It was all, he knew that Trump, you know what I mean, he didn't have to say anything, he bodied it. He spoke about Eric Prince and Blackwater and the fact that everything that was taking place overseas on that parallel was taking place here.
Facts. The Katrina Death March.
Katrina Death March.
He laid it out. You understand? Yeah. Remember that shit, family? Remember that body count? That was all Blackwater. You haven't heard from them since, huh?
Eric
thought
Prince.
They disappeared? Y'all even forgot in that story, the main character of that story was Mike Brown. All right?
And Katrina?
Mike
yeah,
Brown.
This is how they gauge the memory of niggas, man. We don't remember nothing. It was only 2005. The head of FEMA's name was Mike Brown.
Facts.
When Bush went to New Orleans, he was like, Mike, he's doing a great job. That was Mike Brown.
Cool. Eric Prince, the notorious former head of Blackwater, a military contracting firm blamed for the killing of Iraqi civilians, is all aboard the Trump train. He's done several interviews on Breitbart News, Sirius XM show over the past few months, boosting the candidate. In newly released FEC filings from a pro-Trump super PAC show he made a generous contribution to their efforts. According to the Wall Street Journal, that PAC is helmed by Rebecca Mercer, the daughter of reclusive hedge fund billionaire Robin Mercer, aka Cobra Commander. The September filings for Make America #1 PAC filed with the FEC on October 20th disclosed that one Erica Dean Prince of Middleburg, VA, gave 100 racks to the group on September 21st of this year. Frontier Services Group, a security contracting company, Blackwater founder Eric Prince told Breitbart News, I can't imagine a Hillary Clinton administration ending the ISIS scourge, then laid out a 3-point plan to deal with the terror group. 1, you have to take away any claim they have to a caliphate. That means destroying any conventional force they have in Iraq or Syria, said Prince, adding that he did not think it would require America troops on the ground, but local forces with America support instead. But you just put a ban on Muslims, so there's no such thing as no local forces anywhere in the world again. Nobody will fight with America because I can't come and run to your country. There's a ban on refugees, meaning you keeping the ops. You know what I mean? How could you get anybody to work with you? That was their caveat to niggas like, yo, we talked to your department, we sat down with your embassy, we got 10,000 visas. You go into the suburbs, play the tape. It's Pleasantville, white Cadillacs. You know what I mean? Dairy Queen. And they start snitching and working for the, and then that's that scene in the end of the Vietnam War when a helicopter was taking off right? And you saw the Viet Cong coming up in there, and all of the snitches was ops, and America was like, I'm out. And the people, some of the people who they brought over here, they set up businesses for them, and because of the sentiments was so strong against the Vietnamese, they told them to say that you are a Chinese food restaurant.
Right.
And thus the rise of the Chinese food, which started out as, some of those were the Vietnamese people, but that band, that's like, I don't understand if people know. We're going to show what that is.
Let's get you.
Okay. Item 2 is a Phoenix program similar to the one employed in Vietnam that would capture or kill the funders of Islamic terror, and that would even be the wealthy radical Islamist billionaires funding it from the Middle East and any of the other illicit activities therein. Third, said Prince, you have to destroy them on the internet. Explaining, he asserted, that means with a very capable IT program to dig in and find where these jihadist sites are being hosted and then they're being issued from, and you go in and find and finish them at the internet server level and destroy their ability to communicate even on the web. I just said Giuliani is on the web. Wow. Breitbart News Daily airs on Sirius XM, Patriot 120. Yeah, for everybody that's, go listen to some of that sometimes.
Yeah, do your homework.
In July, Prince told Trump's senior advisor and white supremacist Steve Bannon, at the time head of Breitbart News, that the Trump administration should recreate a version of the Phoenix program, the CIA assassination ring that operated during the Vietnam War to fight ISIS. Such a program, Prince said, could kill or capture the funders of Islamic terror, and that would even be the wealthy radical Islamist billionaires funding it from the Middle East. Prince also said that Trump would be the best force to confront Islamic fascism. As for the world looking to the United States for leadership, unfortunately, I think they're going to have to wait till January and hope Mr. Trump is elected, because clearly our generals won't have a stomach for a fight. Prince said, our president doesn't have a stomach for a fight, and the terrorists, the fascists, are winning. Prince founded the notorious private security firm Blackwater, which rose to infamy in September 2007 after its operatives gunned down 17 Iraqi civilians, a million civilians, including a 9-year-old boy in Baghdad's Nasser Square. Whistleblowers also alleged that Prince encouraged an environment in which Iraqis were killed for sport. At the height of the Blackwater scandals in 2007, another prominent Trump backer, Rep. Dana Rohrabacher, praised Prince, who once worked in his congressional office. Prince, Rohrabacher said, is on his way to being an American hero, just like Ollie North was. Okay. Notorious mercenary Eric Prince is advising Trump from the shadows. Bombs. Eric Prince, America's most notorious mercenary, is lurking in the shadows of the incoming Trump administration. A former senior U.S. official has advised the Trump transition told The Intercept Prince has been advising the team on matters related to intelligence and defense, including weighing in on candidates for the defense and state departments. The official asks not to be identified because of transition policy prohibiting discussion of confidential deliberations. On election night, Prince's latest wife, Stacey DeLuke, posted pictures from inside Trump's campaign headquarters as Donald Trump and Mike Pence watched the returns come in, including a close shot of Pence and Trump with their families. We know some people who work closely with Trump on his campaign, DeLuke wrote, waiting for the numbers to come in last night. It was well worth the wait. Hashtag President Trump 2016. Prince's sister, billionaire Betsy DeVos, is Trump's nominee for education secretary, and Prince and his mama gave large sums of money to a Trump super PAC.
Did they say where she got her Billies from?
Nah. Only 7 people cut checks to Make America #1 in September. Make America #1 is like Heritage Foundation. Those are you go and read. That's the new law. That's the rule of law. When you explain rule of law, that's the new. They're the ones that are replacing all of the Obama policies,
yeah.
all of his doctrine. You know what I mean? Like how they had the Reagan doctrine. Is going to be this company, this super PAC right here, and the Heritage Foundation are the leading ones. Make America #1. Prince was the second largest. Bernie Marcus, the co-founder of Home Depot, gave the largest, which was $2 million. His mom, Elsa Prince, also gave 50 racks. They made it rain in the super PAC. Prince's contribution is interesting because he's one of the most controversial figures of the Iraq War. He is Destro. He is Cobra Commander. Blackwater is Cobra Commander. He's the nigga with the mask on. Prince founded Blackwater, a private security firm that contracted with the U.S. military in Iraq during the war there. In 2007, Blackwater employees were involved in a mass shooting that left 17 civilians dead, including 2 boys aged 9 and 11. And might I add that they also were found guilty for murders in Katrina. How did that happen?
Facts.
Okay, how did that happen? Shout out to Phil, man. 11 private security firms guarding Donald. 11 private PMCs. For all of you militants out there. Okay? There's people doing real, you know what I'm saying? Like there's real military shit taking place. And then there's people getting their guns taken from them. Yeah. And coming up with excuses why certain people can't be brought to justice. The campaign might not want to talk about it. They might not want to talk. I think they, yeah. But Donald Trump has contracted 11 security firms, security guard services, and dozens of individuals as he's campaigned around the country. And a handful of the private companies are run by retired, high-ranking law enforcement personnel. It's unclear if any of them are armed in their capacity on the Trump campaign. It's unclear if they're armed. Security can be necessary, but it also lends an appearance of legitimacy to those cocooned within it. And Trump's preoccupation with that appearance dates back decades. Okay? In his I'm known for being pretty tough, and I don't take any shit for him back and forth. The thing is, he knew where I stand. Over the years, we've had some disagreement where I've cursed him out on the phone and said fuck off and back and forth. If I caught him, da-da-da-da-da. It's unprecedented, said one high-level official with knowledge of the Secret Service machinations. The apparatus surrounding Mr. Trump is extensive to the point of looking dysfunctional. And the dysfunction is glaring. The Trump campaign first told me that all questions regarding security should be directed to the Secret Service. But the Secret Service told me that Trump's private security is considering campaign staff, and so any questions about them would have to be answered by the campaign. The campaign, informed of this, replied, no comment, all facts. Further requests for comment were not met with slightly weirder but more helpful reply. We have no comment on security personnel and procedures. The campaign might not want to talk about it, but Trump has contracted 11 security firms, security guard services, and dozens of individuals as he's campaigned around the country. A handful of the private companies are run by da-da-da-da-da. More about Prince. I could go on. You get the picture. He's with China right now. While he's waiting, he's in China. Okay, called Echo Papa. He tried to start a Air Force while he was chilling on the low, like chilling, you know, falling back. He started what is known like a Uber Air Force. You know, he's a rogue chairman, said Prince's close associate. Eric wants to be a real no shit mercenary. He's a rogue chairman. who has mounted his attempts to sell mercenary forces in Africa. I mean, come on, y'all. All them diamond mines, all that gold, all that the real bag. It's mercenaries, not armies, not black governments that sold people out. No, they got teams of killers, hired guns, you know,
the shit you be seeing on Expendable, and you go to see Expendable 4, 5, and 6. God damn it, them
you know what I'm
niggas.
saying? All that way. Them. They're really doing. They with the shits. So some of our finest mercenaries are being clipped down for bags of weed, or they being locked up for life, and you know, all of these things. Eric wants to be a real no shit mercenary. He's off the rail, exposing many U.S. citizens to criminal liabilities. Eric hides in the shadows and uses FSG for legitimacy. Okay, more about him. He was under investigation for money laundering, his ties to Chinese intel, and brokering mercenary services. You know, going up in Africa and other places. He sought to... So all of these places that were banned, Somalia, Sudan, these is where they're operating right now. So the PMCs are basically collapsing those governments. That's why the ban is strong. Those are oil-rich governments. Those are mineral-rich governments. These PMCs come in when the CIA goes in, and their soft war propaganda destabilizes it with propaganda, destabilizes it through internal conflict, destabilizes it with puppet regimes. Then PMCs come in, like how the cartels might come in and take over these villages, then take over the growth, they take over the resources, take over the police, take over the town, corrupt all within. And then you have Mexico, you got what you see across the border. So they're doing this in different places, and this is what they're doing to prepare for this perpetual war. They call it the war of the slums. The 100 perpetual year war. So they're just showing how he's building with the Chinese. All right. Like I said, this information will be available on the website. Rise of the American Mercenary. It's a lot of stuff. I want you to read it. America's addiction to mercenaries. I'm going to show how they're the ones who brought the dope. They're the ones who you could thank for your heroin addiction. They're ones who you could definitely shake hands with, because that boy got, that boy is flying. Yeah, they're the ones who's bringing that stuff. They're the ones that got the bandos popping, because they brought those poppies from the poppy fields.
Family, do you even understand in hustling, black people is a permanent underclass?
Still permanent.
Permanent underclass. Fourth class citizens, even in the hustling hierarchy. The black man has never been the plug. It's a goddamn shame.
America's addiction to mercenaries. Washington's reliance on private contractors to fight its wars has mutated into a strategic vulnerability. A decade ago, I found myself in a precarious position. I was in Burundi, sipping a Coke with a dopamine, not the Z, the country's then president, U.S. Ambassador Jim Yellen, and several others. We had an emerging catastrophe on our hands. 10 years earlier, the Rwandan genocide left a trail of ash and tears in its wake, claiming 800,000 lives in 90 days, nearly a soul a minute. Since then, Rwanda had recovered, but neighboring Burundi remained at war with itself, ravaged by infighting with Hutus, massacring Tutsis, and vice versa. In 2004, the United States had intelligence that Hutu extremists wanted to trigger a new genocide that would end Tutsis once and for all. My job, in collaboration with everyone sipping cokes in the president's living room, was to prevent this without anyone outside the room knowing it was a U.S.-led effort. And succeed we did. Uganda's top export, mercenaries. The African nation makes more money from military contractors than coffee. Okay, they're for hire. Uganda's top, so Black Panther is real. Uganda in East Africa is home to 37 million people in one of the poorest countries in the world. It's perhaps known for the dictator Idi Amin, who came to power in 1971 and murdered 300,000 of his countrymen during an 8-year reign. Although the country borders tumultuous South Sudan and the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Uganda today is an island of relative political stability. The economic hums, shopping mall booms around the capital. The people, to generalize, are deeply religious, family-orientated, averse to profanity. Winston Churchill dubbed Uganda the Pearl of Africa, in part for its friendly people. It's one of the leading providers of mercenaries, though, or private military contractors, though, as the security industry prefers to call them. They are at once everywhere and nowhere. On TV, a company called Middle East Consultants runs advertisements looking for able-bodied young men to send to Dubai. Talk to taxi drivers as you bump along dirt roads on the capital, Kampala, and each has a friend or cousin or neighbor who raves about the fortune he's made guarding some embassy or joining the war in Iraq. But official numbers and interviews with the kind of multinational companies that go to countries such as Uganda to find soldiers are hard to come by. In Iraq, Ugandans protect U.S. diplomats in Baghdad and Basra. They also guard businessmen and aid workers in Afghanistan and Somalia. They patrol government installations in Qatar and will likely stand watch when the country hosts the 2022 FIFA World Cup. Some recruits have drilled in elite counterterrorism training. No, nobody got their Twitter handle?
Nobody. Nobody.
They like, yo, the Ugandans are here for me. Okay. A decade ago, after Conman began running employment frauds on mercenary hopefuls, the Minister of Gender, Labor, and Social Development created the Internal Employment Unit, an agency meant to track men leaving to serve abroad. So that's their army. That's their traveling army. You dig what I'm saying? They're like, yo, we're going to utilize these able-bodied, poor, they're killing themselves anyway out here, and we're going to go chase that bag. And that's what they're using them for. And people is like, in a moral bag, like, oh, that's wrong. Why they doing that? I'm like, you don't know, you haven't, when you got here, you didn't read that book called The World? Oh, you read the Bible, but you didn't read The World. Basic instructions before leaving Earth. It said Earth. I'm talking about the world. This is how the world is running right now. This is mercenaries when this is all Moorish. Look, list in hand, I go off to find some. One of my first stops is Saracen, Uganda, the local affiliate of the South African security company, Saracen International. The parent company was founded by Veterans of Executive Outcomes, a private military contractor whose March 1995 assault on a guerrilla insurgency in Sierra Leone inspired the movie Blood Diamond. Saracen's Ugandan offshoot was criticized in a 2002 United Nations Security Council report for training rebel paramilitary forces in the DRC. One of the company's founders is General Salam Selah, the half-brother of Uganda's president, Yoweri Museveni. So, you saw, who saw Assassin's Creed?
I ain't see it yet.
Oh man, Assassin's Creed was dope. Assassin's Creed opens up in Al-Andalusia during the war with the European, Christendom versus the whole movie is about them winning that war. And at the end, they have him they're right inside of that. You know the pictures that we have of Al-Andalus, the garden, the
Moorish guard.
Yes, they have that. Yeah, they got that scene and whatnot. So they call them the Saracens.
Right.
And they would employ armies from Somalia, from the Sudan. That's how they got people from West Africa. The Almoravid dynasty were hired by another dynasty that was losing a war from an insurgency that was known as the white nationalists of that day, the alt-right of that day.
Right.
The Gothics. you know what I mean? I'm going to show you how these are the same people.
Right, they called in the hitters.
Huh?
They called in the hitters to put that work in.
And this is what you see right here. So we're not approaching this with a moral compass, what's right or what's wrong. We're just giving you the news as what exists. You may need the assistance of a Uganda one day. You said that you love Uganda.
They be saying that.
Yeah. Give them a check. Cook a bag for them. Saracens.
They for hire.
Yeah, they for hire. Security, I could go on for days. It's there, Brett. It's there. In Afghanistan, defense contractors outnumber U.S. troops 3-1. Okay? That's their war.
Where that thing is at.
Where that thing is at.
3-1.
3-1. There's not enough if the army even say something wrong. So
they got that horse flowing down these streets.
So let's use a micro of a macro. The PRC is 3-1 to the NYPD. The PMC is 3-1 to the National Guard of the United States of America. Maybe because this is Iraq. That shit big. Afghanistan big too. You feel me? And they're doubling the forces on the ground. They're in Syria and everywhere. Everywhere where there's conflicts, it's PMC. Right. Run PMC. That's a shirt. Nobody take that. Old counter drug strategy, new bottle. The current counter narcotics operation and logistic contract is the latest version of a far bigger award that was broken up into multiple pieces as the Obama administration shifted federal acquisition practices to put more awards in the hands of small businesses. It also sought to eliminate organizational conflicts of interest in which a company can both help the government formulate the requirements and bids on programs where it helped fashion the requirements. This operation and logistics part of the contract is one of the 4 programs under the predecessor umbrella contract in the Counter Narco-Terrorism Technology Program Office. The other 3 awards includes one for program management work, one for training and supportive services, and the Command, Control, Communications, Information Detection and Monitoring Program. Under the operation and logistics contracts, 15 companies, 9 large and 6 smalls, will be tasked with providing a number of services that span the globe. This will help build facilities that house shooting ranges, to train local police forces that combat the drug trade, and will help the procurement and delivery of items including night vision goggles and vehicles. Work will be performed globally with a period of performance to be complete by January 28th, 2025. That sounds like they're building G.I. Joe. Okay? This is what they're in Afghanistan doing. When crime pays for private military there goes the poppy. Everyone has heard the old cliche that crime pays, but criminals are not the only ones who make the money. Those fighting the criminals, police and law enforcement of all types, the judicial system also make money. This is a racket. They learn how to make a racket. They're gamblers. These are hedge funders. They roll dice. They play Hunger Games. This shit is fun. This a video. This virtual. This Oculus. Westworld. The public sector institutions make a lot of money. But it's not just the public sector that makes a profit off crime. So does the private sector, including the prison industrial complex, which has been increasingly outsourced to the likes of Correction Corporations of America and the GEO Group. Beyond Blackwater, the industry had to reinvent itself after Blackwater and do some, cleaning up and things of that nature. But they only got bigger and, they've gotten more organized. Mm-hmm. It's an organized front. It's an organized nation of killers and mercenaries and billionaires, and apparently Eric Prince and the white supremacists.
Right, rogue corporations.
It's Negan on Walking Dead. It's the rogue one. It's the rogue. It's the Star. It's the rogues. It's the Bundys. It's the Oath Takers. It's the Crusaders. Oath Keepers. It's so much information, yo. I gotta breeze through this, man. 5 corporations now dominate our privatized intelligence industry. Okay, real quick. Booz Allen Hamilton, CSRA Inc., was created out of a merger between CSC, which developed and managed the NSA's classified internal communication systems, and SRA International, a highly profitable company with a long history of involvement in intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance, which is called ISR. Among scores of other contracts, CSRA, which has close ties to the U.S. Air Force, provides 24/7 support for the global operations of U.S. commands in Europe and Africa under a January 2006 contract, manages the global network of intelligence platforms for the most advanced drones in the U.S. arsenal, and in a bizarre set of contracts, with the recent integration of 2 military contracts and a $10 billion behemoth, is the latest in a wave. Oh, that's the different page. This is the first page. The recent integration of 2 military contractors into a $10 billion behemoth is the latest in a wave of mergers and acquisitions that have transformed America's privatized high-tech intelligence system into what looks like an old-fashioned monopoly. In August, Leidos Holdings, a major contractor for the Pentagon and the National Security Agency, completed a long-planned merger with the Information Systems and Global Solutions division of Lockheed Martin, the global military giant. The 8,000 operative employed by the new company do everything from analyzing signals for the NSA to tracking down suspected enemy fighters for U.S. Special Forces in the Middle East and Africa. Nowhere else. The sheer size of the new entity makes Leidos one of the most powerful companies in the intelligence contracting industry, which is worth about $50 billion today. According to a comprehensive study I've just completed on public and private employment in intelligence, Leidos, I may be pronouncing it wrong, is now the largest of 5 corporations that together employ nearly 80% of the private sector employees contracted to work for U.S. spy and surveillance agency. Yes, 80%. For the first time since spy agencies began outsourcing their core analytic and operational work in the late 90s, the bulk of the contracted work goes to a handful of companies. Leidos. What is that pronounced, you think? Leidos, or Leonidas, Booz Allen Hamilton, we're familiar, CSRA, SAIC, and CACI International. This concentration of pure plays, a Wall Street term, okay, they made $116 billion in IT. All right, you do further research on that. The use of mercenaries in warfare has a very long history, much longer, in fact, than the almost exclusive deployment of national military to wage wars. Before the Peace of Westphalia in 1648 ended Europe's 30 Years' War and marked the rise of the modern state system, medieval powers from kings to popes routinely hired private fighters to do battle for them.
Templars.
As state governments sought, and that's the whole thing of Assassin's Creed's movie is all Knights Templars. It's all about the Templars. As state governments sought a monopoly on the use of force within their territories in the 17th century, however, they moved to stamp out violence by non-state actors, including mercenaries, driving the industry underground. Private militaries never really went away, but according to Sean McFate, a senior fellow at Atlantic Council and associate professor at National Defense University, they have experienced a resurgence in the past 25 years. McFate himself was a contractor with DynCorp International, Cobra Commander, one of the private military companies who rises the subject of his recent book, The Modern Mercenary. Companies like DynCorp and more infamously Blackwater were major players in the U.S. military campaigns in Iraq and Afghanistan, providing logistics and other services, as well as armed guards and trainers for local armies. They are the ones, when they say that USA created ISIS, when they say that the army left and somebody stayed behind and radicalized or militarized the whole country and then they left? Okay. That's called logistics. That's called clandestine. That's work that doesn't show up on surface. This is contracted work. There's a specific mission Like I said, strategic communication. Okay? So, Nigeria has reportedly deployed mercenaries from South Africa and elsewhere in a fight against the militant Islamist group Boko Haram. In practice, however, that difference is not clear-cut. If you can do one, you can do the other, McFate told me in a recent interview. Here we have Mad Dog Mathis, fired by Obama to please the Muslims, hired by Trump to terminate them. This is some of his tweets. Hold on. Wait. Y'all need to find out who Mad Dog Mathis is. We're going to get back to him. Mad Dog Mathis